NRI Wellness. We bring you the latest in health and nutrition information, create customized nutrition programs, and walk you through the process to ensure your success.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay,
Morning. I
so
had a question real quick, just to make
who
sure
is,
you're
go ahead.
you're introducing the first person, right?
Yeah,
And Janay is not on the list you sent me.
she's at the bottom. I think it was 2 pages.
Okay, I'll double check.
Okay, I'll send it again if you need me to.
Oh no, sorry, I got it. Sorry, my fault. Okay.
System.
That.
And will we be muted on all of them while everyone is speaking?
Yes, everybody will be muted initially.
And then you'll let us know when you'll
So
introduce.
okay, give me a second. I'm going to go over this with everybody.
Okay.
All right, so what's getting ready to happen is everybody's going to be muted to start off. I'm going to welcome all of the participants and attendees to the event. As you go up, I'm going to introduce Ramona first. Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's in. Okay, I'm going to be introducing Ramona first. After I introduce Ramona, she's going to speak. I suggest that you guys set a timer. Your timer should be for 12 minutes. Wendy is going to have a timer as well. At 11:59, she will mute you. The first 5 people will be made co-hosts. Oh, y'all mute y'all phone now because somebody's feedback is horrible.
Mute the computer.
Yeah, I did it. Don't worry about it. I muted everybody. Okay, so after Ramona speaks, I'll come back on, and any questions that anybody has for her, I will actually ask her at that moment. If there are no other questions, I'm going to throw it to Wendy, and Wendy is going to introduce the next person. Like I said, at 11:59, she's going to mute your mic. So even if your presentation is less than that, then you're good to go. I'll just come on and ask you the questions that are placed in the chat. You don't have to focus on the chat. The only person who has requested that they be able to focus on the chat is Zhivi. Once she and that's just a part of her presentation. So we actually have people waiting. Let me see. Are there, did I go over everything? Let me make sure. Okay, so I am going to be here, but I'm not going to be here because I'm working on the 15-minute intermission presentation, and that's actually going to be 10 minutes because I thought about it. If I let people move for 15 minutes, they might not come back. So, so it's going to be 10 minutes, real quick, go pee, grab something to drink, come back, you know. So I'm going to be here, but my screen is going to be off and I'm going to be muted because I'm going to be also moving around as well. Like I said, I'm working on a lot of stuff for the ending as well as the middle. I'm also going to be taking notes for your presentation, from your presentation. Those of you that I've already talked to you, those of you that are giving away free things. Is that better? Oh yeah, that is better, but I don't want y'all to see my bathroom. Let me go over here. That's better lighting. Okay, yeah. Okay. I hate that you can see the doors, but I don't care. Okay. Yeah, that's what I said. I see doors in other people's. I saw Kaye whole husband just a few minutes ago. So, so we good. We good. Yeah, we good. All right. So Wendy is my co-host. Wendy, I actually have a question for you. Are you Dr. Wendy Cunningham now?
Not until December 12th.
Oh, okay, well, technically you Dr. Wendy Cunningham as far as I'm concerned, okay?
I just have a few questions.
Go
Just
ahead.
tell me who the expert is. I got Lynette, intellectual, Arliss, environmental wellness expert, Gail, financial expert, Kaye Henry. What expert is she?
Emotional wellness.
Sanjay? Sanja?
Creative wellness. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to go through everybody and I'm going to unmute you and let you say your name so that Wendy can hear how you pronounce your name, okay? We're going to start with Ramona. Ramona, you should see a thing on your screen that says unmute. Do you see that? Yeah.
Right, me.
Yeah,
Ramona
okay.
Smith. My name is Ramona Smith.
Next is Lynette.
Lynette Phillips.
Next is Arielis.
Arelis Rivera. I can say that again.
Yeah, say that one more time.
Arelis Rivera.
Oh, that's a lot. Okay. Arielis?
Arelis.
Arielis.
There you go. There you go. Don't think too much about the R.
Arielis Rivera?
Yeah, just keep practicing it. I've been doing it too. Next is Dr. Gail.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Financial, could they say what expert they are?
Financial wellness.
Okay.
Next is Kaye Henry.
Good morning, Kaye Henry, emotional wellness.
Next is Sanja Danette. Sanja.
Oh, my bad. Buenos dias, Sanja Danette, Creative Wellness.
Next is Zhivi.
Zhivi Williams and Health, Wellness, and Fitness.
Okay. One more time.
Zhivi Williams.
Zhivi. Is this right? Zhivi Williams?
Mm-hmm.
And one more time.
Physical wellness.
Okay.
Physical.
Thank you. Physical wellness expert.
Yep. Next is
Zhivi.
Angela Yvonne.
Angela Yvonne, social wellness.
Thank you.
Next is Melissa Wilson.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you now.
Melissa Wilson. Okay, Melissa Wilson, occupational wellness.
Okay, thank you.
Missy, you breaking up a little bit from us. Girl, your hair is red now.
Occupation.
Hey, good mama, occupational wellness.
Go in the living room.
Okay,
Go in the living room and sit in the
I'll do
chair.
that.
Okay. Next up is Janay Douglas.
Hello, Janay Douglas, accountability.
Okay.
Okay, I'm about to mute all again. And I'm gonna go ahead and add the first three people, Ramona, Lynette, and Arielis, as co-host. So go ahead and have your screens. Those of you that have PowerPoints, have your screen already prepared so that you can actually be ready as soon as it's your turn.
Do you want us to keep our cameras off or on? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter. I would prefer you keep it on. It just make it look like, you know, people can see you. Unless you get ready to go do something, you can turn it off then. Like me, I'm about to turn mine off as soon as I finish because I got to finish this PowerPoint.
Okay.
So when
Right.
do I have to? Their co-host. Do I do anything to so they can share? Make them change
No,
it?
you don't have to.
Okay.
Once you remember what I said, I'm putting the first three people, Ramona, Lynette, and Arielis is co-hosts. Once
Okay.
they've spoken, remember to remove them as a co-host. Don't take them out the crew, but remove them as a co-host.
And make the other the next.
And make the next person a co-host. Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, I got to get my charger. I'll be right back.
Okay.
And people are texting, asking, is everything okay? They ready to come in?
Oh, I know. I see all of them on there. Yeah. They'll be okay. I got to get y'all together first.
Okay, I'm back.
Can you hear me better now? I had a microphone hooked up and I unhooked it.
Okay, yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Okay, you guys. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Those of you who have joined us live, those of you who are watching this as a playback, thank you for joining us. This is the 10 Dimensions of Wellness first annual Transitioning to the New Year virtual health summit. And this year we are going from 2020 to 2021. Now, I keep saying, I don't know what kind of year 2020 was you. It's been a trying year for some of us. We've had to deal with a pandemic. We've had to deal with some political things, some social things. It's been one of those years. So what I've gotten together for you are 10 dynamic speakers, 10 experts in 10 different areas of wellness. We're dealing with spiritual wellness, intellectual wellness, environmental wellness, financial wellness, emotional wellness, creative wellness, physical wellness, social wellness, occupational wellness, and accountability. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, why do I have all of these people in all of these different areas of wellness? Here's why. Here at NRI Wellness, our methodology is the 10 dimensions of wellness, and we equate that to almost like the tree of life, accountability being the trunk, and you have to be accountable for each of these various areas of wellness in your life. So in order to be accountable for those areas of wellness, you actually have to have the insight, the tips, the information. You got to know how to do that. So one of the things I want to do is I want to provide you with that information. So I went out and I got 10 experts in 10 different areas, including my own field of study. I went and got 10 people that can give you 10 realistic tips on how you can transition from 2020 to 2021, still living your absolute best life. Now, the first person I'm going to bring to the screen for you is my godmother. And she's gonna touch and give you some information spiritually. She's just gonna wake us up. I'm gonna come back in between. What I want you guys to do is listen up to all of the speakers and listen to what they have to say. Put your questions in the chat. I'm gonna be monitoring the chat. The reason why is I'm gonna give free gifts too. Each of these ladies have donated a free product or free service, something for you to have so that you can remember them by, and also so that you can learn and be educated in their area of expertise. So listen up and listen up well, because when I come back, I'm going to be asking you questions, but put your questions in the chat too. Don't be afraid to ask them anything, because at the end of their presentation, I'm going to do a question and answer with them, and I'm going to ask them everything that you want to know. So let's get started with Ramona Smith. I'm going to go ahead and allow her to come to the screen, and we're going to give her the mic and let her start presentation now.
Hello, everyone. Praise God. It's good to be here this morning. I'm speaking to you today about spiritual wellness. First, before I give you a workable meaning, excuse me, for spiritual wellness, I just would like to say to you that we must remember that God is a spirit, and those who worship must worship in spirit and truth. And that's all of us if we're going to worship God. Okay, spiritual wellness provides us with systems of faith, belief, values, ethics, principles, and morals. That's what spiritual wellness does for us. And we can separately look at each of those categories and get a meaning and relate that to our life so that we can be the best individual that we can be. Okay, a healthy spiritual practice may include examples of me volunteering, and you volunteering, any of us that, excuse me, you'll bear with me. Any of us that do any type of volunteer work, that's a healthy spiritual activity. Spiritual wellness also, it acknowledges our research for deeper meaning in life of what we're to do in life, what we've been created for, why God made us. All of us was created for a specific purpose in life. I don't know about any of you, but it took me a while to accept my calling from God, because I'm like, oh God, you don't want me to do that. Father, you're not talking to me. But I thank God that I knew who God was when I finally got to the point where I accepted my calling in life. And now that I have learned how to be obedient and listen to God, at the young age of 70, I am now on the path that I should have been on years ago. But because of me thinking I know what I was doing, I went astray. But praise be to God. I just want to say, because of my parents, my grandmother, and my upbringing, I knew when I got out there deep in the water, I seen the light shining to guide me back home to safety, to God. That's because I had the Spirit of God within me. He was dwelling within me. We all have that spirit, but so many of us are searching for so many other things that we forget about our first love. I tell you, brothers and sisters, spiritual wellness is something that we all need. Spend a little time and just dedicate yourself to your spiritual wellness. We're going to talk about numerous types of wellness during this virtual summit. They're all important. They're like a good piece of anything you create. They all work together. They complement each other. They're not separate. Each of these 10 dimensions that we're speaking on, if you allow God, because he will do it for you, he did it for me. I can just give a testimony that will knock you down. I'm trying to get there. God is working on me. He's molding me, and he's getting me ready for overflow. And I thank God. Amen. I just want to say also, spiritual people, when you have that spiritual wellness, they're more gracious, they have gratitude, they're happier, and it seems like their life is so much in sync and connection with what God has going on in the world, because he's leading and guiding them into the direction that he wants them to go. And everything is working together. You'll hear me say a lot about things working together, because as a woman of God, I know that we all have to work together on everything. There are different spiritual values. It's just so much that I can say about spiritual wellness. I keep looking up here because I am a talker, and the more I talk, the more I want to talk, and I'm trying to be obedient and stay within the time, because when I begin to think about the goodness of what the Lord has done for me, hallelujah, my soul gets so excited and I just can't hold it. He brought me from a mighty long way. I can safely sit here and say, I love God with my whole heart, mind, body, and soul. And that's because he's done so much for me. I pray that each and every one that's attending this summit reap some of the benefits, the golden nuggets that's going to be given here today, because brothers and sisters, whoever's out there that's checking in on this summit, we have something for you. Let me look at my notes and tell you some more stuff, okay? Another thing, when you talk about spiritual wellness, you're speaking about that spirituality has to do with having a sense of peace and purpose in life. I told you previously, we all have a purpose, a plan in life that when God created us, he didn't just throw anything together. We are each unique. We are each special. We are forgiven. He put special stuff in us. And guess what? After he made us, he threw them all away. There's no other Ramona. Now, I have a granddaughter named Ramona. She's similar to me because I try to mold her and teach her, but she's not me, and she will never be me. But I thank God that she has some of my qualities, and God has a plan for her. He has a plan for each and every one in here. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples of non-religious spiritual wellness and some examples of religious spiritual wellness. The non-example of spiritual wellness is when we volunteer, when we do humanistic things, social activists, environmentalists, and we all are aware of the religious ways. Some people do Buddhism, some people are Muslim, some people are Christian, some, study other religions. Now, I'm going to give you 3 short tips of what you can do to practice spiritual wellness. Number 1, you should believe and do what's right. You don't just do anything wrong. Sometimes people that are spiritual have different meanings, but my meaning of spiritual wellness is the meaning I gave you in the beginning, and my meaning deals with showing love to God from my heart. Some people say they love God, but they don't treat their brother and sister right. Another tip is talk to others. Spirituality can be very complex. Some people may not understand it. Talk to your friends. Talk to anybody who you can gain some information from. Remember, my people are perished for lack of knowledge. That's knowledge of anything. We take that knowledge and put it into action and become wisdom, okay? Some people may think it's a waste of time to talk about spiritual wellness, but I'm here to let you know it's not. On this point, I think I should kind of calm down because I feel my inside racing. And if there's nothing else, hey, I'll say at this point, God bless each and every one. And I'm praying for all the rest of you speakers.
Okay, thank you. We do actually have a question for you. Okay. And before I actually get into this question, it's funny because the person who asked this question is our door prize winner. Chantel Wheeler, you'll actually be receiving a copy of Janay Douglas's journal, Love Notes. So be expecting that in the mail. Now, Chantel has a question for us. Her question is, how do you reconcile the differences in what you have been taught spiritually versus what you feel spiritually? That's a struggle that she's been dealing with.
Okay, let me share this with you. Right now, I've just recently, praise God, accepted my calling as a prophetess. All my life, I've been different from people, and I've always felt I was different, and I knew I was different. I did not quite understand the uniqueness of my difference. So I was raised in the Baptist church. Then we went to a Church of God in Christ, Kojic, and that's where most of my training came from, Church of God in Christ. And the way that you change from the way you were raised to something else, You pray to God and ask him to lead and guide you. You don't make your own changes, because some of the stuff we learned from the old times is extremely valuable now. In fact, speaking about spiritual wellness, years ago, religion and spirituality used to be the same. And it's just been recently that it's separated. But since I told you in the very beginning, God is a spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. Your spiritual wellness will help you to know which direction to go, what to do, and where, how to feel. Pray and ask God to lead you. Nobody else can give you insight on that situation but God.
Great answer. Now, I'm actually going to throw this show, the rest of the hosting, to my co-host, let me see how I'm going to introduce her. She is a researcher of public health, Dr. Wendy Cunningham. She is the co-host for this event today. So I'm going to throw this to Dr. Wendy Cunningham to go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Thank you. And thank you, Ramona. That was absolutely awesome. Next expert on our Virtual Health Summit 2020 is Lynette Phillips. She is our intellectual expert. Lynette is a speaker and a facilitator. She's the owner of Empower Your Possibilities and co-founder of the Fulfilled Mom Movement and co-author of Focus, It's Possible. Please join me in virtually welcoming Lynette Williams, our Virtual Health Summit 2020 intellectual wellness expert.
Thank you, Wendy. And again, Ramona, thank you following up after that. I appreciate it. I'm going to be speaking with you all today about time, something we all probably wish we have more of, but I'm going to give you some practical steps on what to do. If we can't get from the construct more of it, we can be very diligent and good stewards of it. So I will be sharing a presentation with you, and please throw any questions you have in the chat. I want it to be interactive and the opportunity for you all to walk away with some real tangible tips. So let me tell you a little bit about my why. Why do I get on a stage or in different platforms to share information? It's never too late to put your framework into focus. Much of what you're hearing today in these 10 dimensions of wellness is really about your individual framework. It all comes together to put the piece of the whole, and you can be 1 or 100, and you can start to put those things into focus. The transformation and renewal of a lived experience really begins in our mind and our heart and the relationship of them together. So we have to rationalize concepts. We have to make sense of them in the world around us. That's how we can live in it. But also our heart is like a second brain. It encodes memories. It gives us hormonal responses. And so as you facilitate transformation and change, or even preparing yourself for going into New Year, it's about the relationship between your mind and your heart. And here's my what. How do I do that? How do I help others through that? I am a certified limbic performance coach. I just described that relationship. So I specifically work with the program about your subconscious, with the relationship with your logical frontal lobe, as well as your heart as well, and how do you get lasting change. So no longer New Year's resolutions, but true solutions. I'm a facilitator, consultant, speaker, author, and mentor, and I also received from Regent University my master's degree in organizational leadership. But most proud that I can say I fired my corporate job and hired myself with my own power of self-belief. And I left a 17-year career at the Walt Disney World Company recently in this year of the pandemic. So one of those pivoting in the pandemic. So let's think about the construct of time, because there's many definitions. If you were to go look it up right now, there's a noun and verb definition. And somewhere in the middle of that is going to be your definition. So the noun, for the purpose of today, our time together, think about that as your actual logical reasoning, your brain speaking to you. It's defined as the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. We can say, you know, the time of our life. Or it's a point in time is measured in hours. It's midnight, it's noon, we're gathered at like 11 o'clock. So your brain rationalizes that construct of time. But when you put time into action, it's about planning, scheduling it, doing things, or just measuring it. How much am I investing? So now that you see that there's really 4 ways to look at time, you now can take it and make your definition, because it's really important that you understand how do you use time, how do you define time, and how do you apply your time. So Lao Tzu said, time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is like saying I don't want to. I think each and every one of us on this call are allotted what we need. It's a matter of making it a priority and really understanding what's important to us. So let's dig into these tips. As you'll see, I have kind of that noun concept, that rational brain concept, and then our heart. How do we put it into action? So I kind of doing this as a countdown for you today. Like, where would I start and how would I get to like a really good ground zero, feeling like I'm well versed? So the first one is do a time audit. How do you allot your time? Like actually go through your planners and do things. But a good question to ask yourself is, how do you feel about how you spend your time right now? If you feel like I get frustrated because I don't have enough time, or I'm not doing what I want to do, it's important to understand the emotions behind certain actions that you do so you can work through them. How would you actually do a time audit? It's simple. Go back and review your calendar, look at meetings that you've had, look at time slots that you've had. The tool that you can look at, how much time are you spending on social media, and look at different trends. Are there certain days that you invest more time on social media? Are there certain hours, certain time of the day, rather than specific days as well? And then if you don't have that information, start fresh. You could take the next 3 weeks up to a month and say, well, how am I actually spending my time, so that you can walk yourself through a process? Because the next step would be think about time just like you would think about your finances, which we have an awesome wealth expert on here, Dr. Yale, a little bit later on. You have a daily budget. Each and every one of us get in our account 1,440 minutes a day. I call it the 1440. Everyone has it. And if you remember the movie Brewster's Millions, it's going to go down to zero. You have to spend it. So you have to be thinking about, well, what is necessary? What are the things that if this was a financial account, I would be paying my bills or making sure needs were met? Well, here's some recommendations. Quality sleep. If you are not thinking about, well, 6 hours is great for me, or I feel refreshed after 8, and thinking about how do I do that? How do I set my bedtime or my bedtime routine to get those things? You may struggle. Our sleep is our regenerative time for our body to heal itself, for it to rest, and it prepares us. What about your time for mental clarity? Taking the opportunity to have, it could be prayer, meditation, journaling. And for me, as a mom of 2 kids, it's really important that I get up before they get up and have some time, because if I'm up like with them, I all of a sudden am overwhelmed by all the tasks that have to happen. So I have to budget that time, and I have to like push myself to make that available. Physical movement. And that doesn't always mean like you're in the gym, or we know COVID that you're always able to get a full workout in. Think about it. If you are still going back into an office, can you take the stairs and get some physical movement? Can you make enough time to do that? Can you park a little bit farther in a parking lot if you're having to go to the grocery store? What are you doing with your time? But if you're always rushing, and I got to go on to the next thing, have you made time for physical movement or just to walk around your block? Spiritual connections. And again, that can look like prayer, study, giving back to others. Are you putting those things as your necessities? Family and friends, and work. And I specifically put work last. We were not born to work, and then die. Work is an important piece of our lives. It certainly keeps our food on the table. So you do need to be very aware and conscious and mindful of how you have to invest your time. And later on, we'll talk about how you can kind of get some efficiencies, because you should be really good at your work so that you can spend your time and your budget on all of those other things. Give time back. So you can trade it off. How, through proper planning and removing redundancies, are there certain things that you constantly do over and over again that you can find a more streamlined way? Because you really want to focus on the purposeful use of time, how you want to use it and do it. So auto responses, things like putting a out of office on the weekends. If you're truly away, that way someone's not expecting a response until you can communicate back to them. Just simple things like that, because how many people have gotten an email and then a text, somebody saying, hey, I just sent you an email. Let them know. You have to communicate back, like, I can't invest this time for this. So finding ways to give back time in your calendar. Here is one, visualizing your time. Take time to find specific color codes in your calendar so that your brain is triggered to see, I can notice that I'm spending so much time in this area and maybe not enough time in the area that I feel most connected to. When we are walking in our purpose, there's such an alignment that we can feel it. But guess what? We often get burnout or frustrated or give up when we aren't spending our time on things that are most important to us. Print or display your time. I have a very large calendar in the kitchen. I write in certain things that I have. I write in things for the kids. They can write notes to me. My husband is like, go to the calendar. If he asks me a question about, can we do this on this day? Go to the calendar. So that way we all physically see kind of where our family is investing our time. And it really made a difference with my son for the digital learning, where it was really imperative that we could talk to him about, here's not only how much time you have, but what are the expectations of what you're doing with this time. And I'm going to show you an example of that in just a moment. One of the key questions to ask yourself is, do I see enough of the color of things that I love? Do I honestly have time carved out? Did I put a date night on there? Did I do all of those things? Here's an example of my son's that's posted in his room. My husband's the creative one. I cannot take any credit for that, but we actually posted, here's the expectations and here's what the tasks that need to be done and here's the time slot. It sounds really simple, but the acronym BLD on there is make sure you brush your teeth, make sure you put on lotion, and we have an older son, make sure you put on deodorant. It sounds really simple, but he now knows how to walk through his day. Even like the 2:45 to 5 o'clock time slot, we let him know that's your free choice. If you don't think you can get things done in 2 hours and 15 minutes you can play on technology, you can go read a book that you want, you don't have to be focused on homework. Be creative, but clean up after yourself. And literally it walks him through his entire day, and what the expectation is. I don't fight with him at 9:15 when I have to get his phone back or any devices. Is very clear. And so taking the time to do that, we sent it to Walgreens. $5 later, nice poster on the wall. Block your VIP client, which is you. You are your VIP. We do so well taking care of so many others, but you are your own VIP. For any entrepreneurs on this call, you may have to set your office hours for certain particular things, but even if your business hours are a true 9 to 5 and that's what you've kind of wrapped around, or hey, I'm on call 24 hours. I came from the hospitality industry. I really was in a leadership role that anytime my phone could go off if there was something going on at the hotel, because I managed the front office. So I understood that. But now, as a business owner, I block the first couple of minutes. I don't have to take a client right at 9 o'clock unless it's really mutually beneficial for both of us, because I have to shift things that happen before 9. So take a couple of minutes, or think about how you want to wrap up your day. Because what if a meeting goes over and then that goes into your dinner time or whatever your next step is? So start with taking your time blocks that serve you as your VIP client well, and then you can fill in everything else. And if you can take time to block time in between meetings if possible, that way you can shift gears. One meeting with one client may shift into a totally different direction for another client, or maybe you're meeting with your assistant to get them geared up for what you got going on or a project. So you do need that space to kind of move in different directions. So take care of you first, and then you can fill everybody else I cannot stress enough, know your flow. It's very important, like, to share with others that they are not compelled to operate on your time. So when I got pregnant with my second child, I had pregnancy insomnia like crazy. So I would easily start sending emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they were like, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh, I'm not expecting you to like respond at that time. I'm not sleeping well, but my expectation is that you're sleeping. Or just what times your creativity is sparked. If you are a person that you like to get everybody settled and you need 11 o'clock at night to midnight to be when you blog or write or do strategy, just know that and know your flow with others so you can feel good about operating in that. Use your PTO. So I know we are in the middle of a pandemic, but even pre-pandemic, approximately 50% of available PTO was banked and unused, according to marketplace.org. That means if someone allocated or accrued 4 weeks of vacation, they had 2 weeks sitting in their bank unused. But how has the pandemic shifted that for you? Because now we work in a virtual world, we work from home, and it's so easy to be consumed at trying to deliver. And we might be doing it out of fear, like, I don't want to lose my job, or I'm grateful that I have my job. But take a day off, and truly take a day off, and not be super accessible by everyone else. It's extremely important to give yourself that downtime. Think about how you can use that as an investment. Where are you having the deficiency in your budget? Is this truly connection time with your family? Is this spiritual wellness? Yesterday, I took the opportunity. My birthday gift for myself was an acupuncture treatment, and I needed an hour and a half to do that. And I did that. I got the kids, kids were set up with school. Life was good. And I took from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And it was amazing. It really set the stage for the rest of the day because I was feeling a little deficient in that area of like relaxation. Use this time for being and not doing. You don't have to take on cleaning out the garage. You don't have to take off time to do all your lists of your honey-do list. Yes, you can prioritize that and put that in your time budget and commit and hold yourself accountable. But if you take a day off, use that time for just being, the emotional wellness, the spiritual connection. Take a nap if you need to. Take that time to do that. And make sure to give yourself permission. I think we are working in a culture where we think if we take time off, I'm supposed to be doing something else. And give yourself permission that part of that may be just hearing and being peaceful and being still. Set boundaries and communicate. The quote by Anna Taylor says, love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. You get to choose how to use it. You teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. It's kind of the same concept when we say from how kind you are to yourself, would you let your child talk to yourself that way? It's really the same thing when it comes to time. If you do have a role, maybe you're in the medical field and 24/7 access is required, okay, you understand the responsibility with that. But if the answer is no, why are you allowing maybe others to have that type of access to you? And you have to ask, only you can answer that question. So really set boundaries and think about urgent priorities. Where are things that you say, okay, I will maneuver a little bit differently, or I will reprioritize this based on it. Maybe you have a deadline coming up or a certain project, or maybe your dream client, it needs a little bit more attention. Okay, then you may work around your boundaries a little bit differently. But clear communication is key. I have 2 kids that know the word capacity at this point, and one of them is 3 years old. I will say, Mommy doesn't have the capacity right now, or we need to be a little bit more patient. We are doing that in like 10 minutes or in 30 minutes, and trying to help them understand the construct of time and how to interact with others on other people's time and being respectful. I shared it earlier, but again, setting up an out of office or communicating with others when you will be away from your roles and responsibilities of job, I cannot stress that enough. It's really important because sometimes it's okay to say, and I really won't be answering phone calls or texts or anything during this time. It is my downtime. And if it is, if it cannot wait, then I will direct you or try to find someone that can fill in that gap from that. If you work in an organization or have an assistant or someone who can help you and say, I'm going to redirect you to a support system, but I'm not it. I'm not the person. And if you do need to communicate with somebody and maybe you have a longer delayed response because you need your own time, enhance your connection with them. Respond in a video or a voice text to a client or to someone. It just gives that more human touch because we're so used to just giving each other, give. But dropping their voicemail of like, hey, I did get your message. I'm gonna get back to you at this time, and just follow through. I think that adds such a human touch. It helps you communicate your boundaries. Revisit your time budget. So now you've kind of walked through all those steps and you've done some of those things. Understand the seasonality of your business. Do you have a time where you can take 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, and plan strategy, but also have some downtime? Look at your whole picture. What new life transitions are happening? Do you have someone in your family having a baby? Are you planning on moving? We are planning right now for going ahead and trying to sell our house in 18 months here, watching the market. So there's certain things we've literally mapped out in 6 months where we need to be. In this month, where do we need to be with certain work on the house and certain things in school districts and all of that, so that we can understand the time to get ourselves there to that goal. And then just ask yourself, with the use of your time, are you actually achieving your personal and professional goals? That's the whole purpose of the use of your time. You have either been given a vision, you're operating in your purpose, or you're discovering your purpose and you're looking to walk in it. If we don't dedicate time to that, we're not going to get to those goals. So that's how you rationalize it. Remember, it can be of value to you. It's a currency. It is just like money, because if you have the right time, you can build the right relationships. You might be able to be out in the community and give back more. Time is of value to you if you choose to see it as that and use it as such. And ask yourself, what value is associated with time for me? If you ask yourself the question, what does good time management give me? What's the benefits? You might come up with a word for you. For me, it is freedom. And freedom is one of my top values. This is why financial freedom is really important to me. This is why freedom of expression and communication is important to me. And, you know, teaching my kids to be able to speak up for themselves in a respectful way. Freedom is one of my top values. So now I can apply it to many pillars of my life. Find that word for you. What does good time management give you? And last but not least, time for a checkup. You know, Doc McStuffins, time for a checkup. You have to build time. You should not be going to see your medical practitioners, whether you choose holistic health, a mixture of modern Western medicine and Eastern medicine, as a result of having issues. Be proactive in this area. Prioritize your mental health, physical health. You know, do you have regular meetings with a counselor? Maybe you haven't sat down with your pastor in a while and you just want to connect there, or you want to give back in ministry. But if you don't make the time to do it, it won't happen, or it's too late. It's as a result of something popping up. So make a list. Start with, what are my annual checkups that need to happen? How much time do I need before I go for a physical to get lab work? What does my job cover? Do I have EAP benefits where I can get up to 5 mental health visits right there in your benefits? Maybe you have big job changes coming up. Maybe you're seeking a new job. Use those benefits and that time allotted to do your checkup in all of those pillars and areas of wellness. And again, you can designate to complete in the same month or just kind of spread it out. I like to just kind of know, like my husband's a teacher. And so we do his pretty much in August, right before school starts. So he does get mad. I block his calendar like crazy. And I'm like, you got dentist, you got this, you got that. But it's like, we know it's like clockwork, and it sets him up for the school year because he can't be away from the classroom. He would need a substitute and all these other things. So, the recommendation there is really get yourself in a system to take care of all of those checkups that need to happen as well. Q&A. I don't know how I did on time, Cammie.
You did absolutely wonderful, Lynette. I am so happy to have the pleasure of listening. I could barely prepare for my own job for listening about time management. It was absolutely awesome. I don't think we have any questions right now in the chat, But listeners, please, if you have any, please put them in the chat. So because we don't have any questions, we're going to move on to the next Health Summit expert. Again, thank you, Lynette. That was wonderful.
You're so welcome. Thank you all for the opportunity today.
Yes. So we have been blessed with a spiritual wellness expert, an intellectual wellness expert. How about this? An environmental wellness expert. See, at this Health Summit, we've got you covered. I would love to introduce you to Arialis Rivera. Ms. Rivera works for the Savannah River National Laboratory and also the Atmosphere Technologies Group as a full-time meteorologist. And she's also an emergency response coordinator. Her responsibilities include regulatory air quality and dispersion modeling, weather forecasting, and climate assessments for engineering and operational safety applications. Her preceding academic preparation includes a master's degree in hydrometeorology from the University of Arizona, Tucson, and a bachelor's degree in environmental science from the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras. Family Health Summit participants, please join me in virtually welcoming Arialis Rivera.
Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be joining you all today, this morning, to share a little bit of what I know, right? So I'll go ahead and start my clock here just to make sure I don't go over in time. And I'm going to share my screen because I do have a presentation and a couple of graphics I want to share. So here we go. So I'm going to be talking today a little bit about understanding climate change and weather. As Wendy so kindly introduced me, I work as a meteorologist and senior scientist in the Savannah River National Laboratories, which contrary to its name is located in Aiken, South Carolina. So let's get started right away by defining what is weather and what is climate. The two terms are related, as we probably kind of know beforehand. They deal with weather parameters such as rainfall, temperature, humidity, and others, right? But they have two main differences. So what the first difference is that weather focuses on the atmospheric conditions at a particular time and location. Whereas climate is going to be looking at the average state of the atmospheric conditions over a particular region. So if you can think or imagine a global map and recall from when we used to study in school the different climatic zones of Earth, you can think of the deserts, the tropics, whatnot. Those regions extend over areas that encompass country lines. They go beyond state lines. They go for more than one country. But if you think of a single day or a single point in time, you may have different weather events occurring on that climatic zone. So that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective of the difference in scale between the two terms. Now, the other major difference is the short-term versus long-term scale of these two terms. Weather focuses on the short-term variation of the weather parameters like rainfall, humidity, etc. Whereas climate is going to be looking at the long-term trend of those parameters. So it looks at periods of 10 to more than 30 years. So with this information at hand, then we can easily define climate change as any systematic change in the long-term statistics of climate elements sustained over several decades or longer. So the key point in climate change is that it's something that is going to be happening consistently over more than 10 years at least, or it could be 30, 50 years, right? So with that systematic change, as you all have probably heard before, because for the last 15, 20 years, there's been a lot of talk on climate change, we can expect that there will be a response in the atmosphere. And the way I like to explain this is, think of the atmosphere as a balanced structure, such as the one that I am showing right here. And the average conditions, or the average temperature to be specific, of the atmosphere is kind of like the base of this structure. So if I move the base of this structure maybe 1/10 of an inch to the side, to each side, I know this structure is going to start probably wobbling. It may not fall altogether, but the pieces of the structure are going to try to offset that change in the base of the structure. So think of the atmospheric average temperature or average conditions at the base of that structure. And then the different individual pieces are different pieces of our weather and climate that maintain that balance. So if I generate a change in the average temperature, I'm going to have a response in weather events that is going to try to offset that balance. And as we've heard before, and we've seen in the latest 10, 15 years, a change in global averages and trends does result in local changes to the frequency, location, and intensity of weather events. So with all this information at hand, and knowing that we're gonna have all these types of weather events, and we're already having a lot of intense, high impact weather events, I'm gonna focus the last section of my presentation on actually giving you guys some tips to better understand the information that we receive from the media. There's a lot of information, a lot of weather forecasts, a lot of weather maps, and sometimes this gets convoluted, right? So I am going to hopefully give you a couple of tips to know what type of information you need to make better and educated decisions with a weather forecast. So the first tip is a big one. I've discussed this whether I'm originally from Puerto Rico. This is an issue in Spanish, in the Spanish language, and in the English language too. Watches and warning, the terminology is confusing, but a watch is not the same as a warning. They are very similar terms, so I don't blame anyone for getting them confused. I have a lot of friends who get them confused, but hopefully this image that I'm sharing here in the screen will help you guys visualize or have a perspective of the difference between the two. In particular, this image is showing the watch and warning difference for a tornado product, but this does apply for hurricanes, for tropical storm, flash flooding, whatnot. So here in the image, you'll see that there's a large area shaded in yellow. That is the area for which a tornado watch has been issued. Now, the area is covered on a tornado watch because it has been observed that weather conditions favor thunderstorms that would be capable of producing the tornado. So that means the tornado is not on the ground yet. You're just getting a heads up. The conditions are good for generating potential tornadoes somewhere within all that area in yellow. Now, when you do get a warning for your area, it means that the tornado or the weather event it's happening, basically. So in this case, for a tornado, there's already a tornado being observed on the ground. So tornado is probably somewhere around here. And because the tornado has been observed already, then the National Weather Service can estimate a better track of where that system is going to move. So that's why the area shaded in red is much smaller than the watch, because they already know where the tornado is and they have a pretty good idea of where it's going to move towards. So the way I like to summarize all this information is basically that when you receive, I'm going to use the example of a tornado again. When you receive a tornado watch, you're watching out to receive the warning. So it's basically telling you, watch out, there might be a warning coming soon. When you get a tornado warning, it's basically telling you, stuff is real, stuff is going down, you need to seek shelter now. I'm warning you, there's a tornado in your area. Same goes for flash flooding, etc. Now, the second tip is, and this is based on my personal experience working on site, I get a lot of questions of weather or how much rain are we gonna get, what's the percentage of chance of rain, for applications that need a little bit more meat to that information. So it's not the same thing to ask how much snow versus how long would it take to fall, or what's the percentage of chance of rain versus how heavy would it be? So to give you an example, both questions are valid, but if you ask or focus on a single percentage chance, you might not be getting the whole picture. For example, a 40% or 50% chance of rain is both applicable for a heavy thunderstorm that it's generating a big downpour, as is also applicable for a drizzle event that lasts a couple of hours. Both forecasts of 50% chance of rain could be one of the two events. They're valid for both. Now, what you want to know when you get 50% chance of rain is how heavy would it be? Because it's not the same if I get 50% chance of rain of 2 inches, that I'm going to get 2 inches that are going to be spread out over 36 hours, versus getting those 2 inches in 2 hours. That's an inch an hour on average. So it's going to be a heavy event. It's going to mean flooding, impacts to visibility and driving conditions. So it's going to be a higher impact event. So besides knowing the chance of rain, you'd want to know a little bit more of what is going to be the characteristics of that event. And linked to that, know your National Weather Service offices. The National Weather Service offices, each state has at least one office that encompasses a large area, and this is the official source for warning, watches, and they'll provide a little bit more information on what I call the meat of the forecast. Aside from providing chances of rain, they'll also provide the impact of that rain. So, and this is very important because I threw in there another tip. Getting your information from official sources is vital, especially in high impact events such as a hurricane or a tornado type of event. I don't know about your experience here, but back home, I did see a lot of people sharing social media posts that were not from an official source and usually misinterpreted the information provided by forecast. So how to know you're getting an official source? You know who's behind the forecast, you know their affiliation, and basically you can make them accountable. So another big one is to be careful what you use weather apps for. They're useful. You can use them to figure out whether you need rainfall, you need a rain jacket or an umbrella. But if you want some more detail in your forecast, again, you should go to an official post of the National Weather Service. That's going to provide more meat to the forecast and the impacts of that forecast. Another big one too, and this was pretty big a couple of years ago, be wary of sharing old forecasts. Be very careful what the validity and the issue date for the forecast is. So in this figure, you don't need to focus on all the details. All I wanted to share on this figure is that these two forecasts have a period of validity from November 14 to November 15 at 7 a.m. These two has the same validity, but they're issued 12 hours apart. So if you noted, it's in the bottom, and 12 hours make a slight small difference. So imagine using a forecast that's 10 days old for today. That is no longer going to be necessarily a valid forecast. So that's a tip, so you get the best information and the most recent forecast. And I'm getting close to running out of time, so I'll just go ahead and show my last slide that highlights the scale of forecast of weather events versus the scale of forecast models. This was a snow event that was only 15 miles, 10 to 15 miles wide, whereas the resolution of forecast models is much more bigger than that. So some events like this might be so focused on some areas that you might be living next door to where the event happened, and you might not even get anything. So it's always fascinating to me, and I did wanted to throw in kind of that bonus slide to show the scale of events. So, but I'm gonna stop talking now, and I'm gonna take any questions and any concerns you guys might have today.
Well, so far we don't have any questions in the comments. Everyone just said thank you for explaining Florida. Lynette said thank you for explaining Florida, where it rains in the backyard, not in your front.
Yeah, those are very small, very localized events. And I used to remember back in Puerto Rico, I would have that, like literally I would drive through a curtain of rain, and then a couple of meters down there, it would be dry. And it's kind of mind blowing to see that.
Yeah, so that is all. I'm going to kick it back over to Wendy so that she can actually move forward with our next guest.
Sure. Thank you so much, Aurelius. So far, we have gathered a wealth of information from how to manage our time, how to manage our environment, how to hear from God. And now we are going to learn how to manage our finances. So we have a financial wellness expert, Dr. Gail Hamilton, and this is indeed a pleasure. She is renowned. Since retiring, Gail has been spending her time in providing financial wellness expertise. She is the owner of Be Connected, which provides business, education, and enterprise solutions to individuals and businesses. Her newest project is being co-author of the book Wisdom from Queens, Volume 13, which I have, and it is awesome. In the book, 5 women share various life experiences: domestic, sexual trauma, sex, race, employment discrimination, and lessons learned for others to maneuver today's life challenges. They're ordinary women sharing extraordinary wisdom. You will see what I mean when I say she is absolutely phenomenal. Please join me with virtually welcoming Dr. Gail Hamilton in the 2020 Virtual Health Summit.
Hello, thank you, Wendy. Can everyone hear me? Okay, thank you for having me. And I'm providing information on financial wellness, and I sort of backed into this. It's because once I retired from the military, et cetera, I was looking at how to prepare for my family. You know, because you live your life, and Lynette mentioned that we just work, and then we start thinking about, oh, okay, what's going to happen next? And that's how I got into financial wellness. And the tip I want to start to everyone is that you have to educate your own self, because this is not provided to us in school. So number one tip is we have to do our own. So my company, Be Connected, we educate people on protecting their assets and structuring their family legacy. I tell everyone, you know, I have a daughter and a son that's in their 30s. If something happened to me tomorrow, they'll be at the car dealership spending everything in one signed check. So how do I leave things for my grandkids and for others so that they can, you know, live out years to come? So one of the things I want to start with is, one, it takes a mind shift. So prepare yourself, because everything we've been taught about finance has been incorrect, or is to accommodate the 10% of people in the financial system. So I'm going to start talking about, because we've been taught a lot of things. And for instance, most of us, how many of you may have a will or a simple trust at this point? Or are we just working, and then we're going to look at it and try to leave everything we work for to someone else? So one of the things that my company does is it shows people how to set up a complex trust, like Jeff Bezos, like the Rockefellers, like Warren Buffett and the Gates and the Trumps. It's a complex trust. A will and simple trust, we call them D&D. Most of you may have one of these. They're set up by an attorney, and they're to distribute your assets when you're deceased. D&D. We've worked our whole life, and now we're just thinking about how we're going to distribute our assets, which is kind of a sad situation if you think about it. But what if you could have a trust that you could manage and control now while you're alive, that could continue to generate wealth for your family when you're gone, that you could control from the grave? And that's a complex trust. So I know this is a new term. A will and a trust, and I forgot to set my timer. I had it set up, but forgot to set start. A will and a trust are established by an attorney, and they're based on statutory or state laws. And then if you move, for instance, from Florida to Georgia, that simple trust is no longer valid. A complex, irrevocable complex trust is a federal contract, and so it's good nationwide and internationally. So you should be looking at establishing a complex trust. Another fallacy is only the ultra rich to have a complex trust. And what we've done is I'm working with a company that traditionally works with people with 10 mil and above, but I kept saying, you know, everybody needs to know this information. And so we've brought it to my company who offers everybody who has, who are working W-2 wage earners. If you have a home, if you have life insurance, we more than anybody else need a complex trust. Because how many of us know people and families who are fighting once somebody's deceased, they lose the family property, etc. So we more than anyone else have the most to lose, and you need a complex trust. Here's another fallacy. I should buy and own as much stuff as possible and put it in my name. Duh, wrong. Liability follows title, and title follows ownership. Sorry about that misspelling. So you don't want to own stuff. Rockefeller said, the key to success is to own nothing but control everything. Gates controls everything. He doesn't own anything. His stock in Microsoft is in his trust. So he controls billions but own nothing. And we've been taught to own stuff. So again, a mindset shift, because we've been taught to put everything in our, if you own it, it can be taxed and taken away from you. So from a legal standpoint, you don't want to own anything, but you want to control $1 billion in your trust. To create generational wealth. Now, I know some of you, how many of you have been told, we put our money into the bank and we let it sit there and grow interest. And if you looked at your statement last month, it earned, if you were lucky, 0.001% on your savings account. Yeah, it wasn't worth the stamp to send me that statement saying that. So what we've been taught is to just let it sit there. But for those who are earning and generating wealth, money in motion generates money. So again, a mindset shift. You should be investing in gold, silver, buying land, real estate. Plus, you put your money in the bank and then you try to go back and get it the next day and you have to wait 3 days. And heaven forbid, if you try to borrow it, they're giving you 0.001%. Then they're going to charge you 5, 8, and 10% to borrow it. This goes back, I don't know how many of you have seen Hamilton, the play. If you look at it again, look at when, once we won independence and when Washington is, there's a debate between Jefferson and Hamilton. And what they're talking about is how the banking system is going to be set up in the financial system in the United States. So this is not new that they set up a two-party system. It's been there. And so what we need to do is learn the rules of the game. And I have quotes here. When they set it up, they said, you know, when they went with the system that Hamilton had, which was one centralized banking system, they said those who was against is that we would wake up and find ourselves homeless in our own homeland. And if you think about it, you may have a house, but you're paying a mortgage to the bank, you don't own it. You may have a car, you don't own it, you're paying a mortgage. We don't own anything. The bank owns it. So learn the rules of the game so we can play the game. For those of you who have a business, one of the things we talk about in the 4 keys to wealth is put your money in the correct tax position. And this has never been taught to us. Most of us, we're W-2 wage earners. And if we have a business, we may have a sole proprietorship, which is, by the way, still tied to our social security number, which means if we're sued, we just invited people into our own personal bank accounts in our homes. So one of the things we do teach you also is how to separate your business and your personal assets. A lot of people will say, I have a business because they got an EIN number from the IRS. All that is an EIN number. You have to set up your LLC or your corporation, C or S. You have to complete that process. And we always recommend to people that you do a multi-member LLC. So if you're one of these people who just have an EIN number, you have to and must complete all the process to properly structure yourself in your state, not just your county. Complete the correct documents and get the correct documents back. You're setting yourself up to be sued and liable. Having an LLC, protect me from creditors and litigation. There again, the name tells you that it's limited liability. You are going to be liable if you are sued. It does not protect you against anything. And so what we teach is if you have an LLC, that's a multi-member LLC, you only keep enough money in your account to cover your expenses. You don't want any excess money sitting there. We show you how to move your money to your trust, to your complex trust, so that if you are sued, there's no money there except money to cover your expenses, and there's nothing to get. You keep money moving, okay? A complex trust is subject to taxes, audit, and collections. Nope. Now, one of the things, the term that I want you all to become familiar with is that there's no such thing as not paying taxes. Everything, even a complex trust, is subject to taxes, 39%. But the key is you want to reduce your tax liability. You want to be like Jeff Bezos at Amazon and pay no taxes. You want to reduce your tax liability. And so with a complex trust, we show you how to set up a series of complex trusts so that you keep your money moving and you zero out your tax liability. Also, unlike when we do our taxes, the 10% who set up complex trusts, it goes to an EOS, the exempt organization section of the IRS. It is not audited, and there's never any collection action. Unlike the rest of us who may be now in an agreement to pay taxes back to the government. There are IRS loopholes that we can use to don't pay taxes. There aren't any loopholes. It's just people's having to understand the IRS rules. And so that's what we need to teach ourselves is, how do I understand the rules to reduce my tax liability? So other people are not taking advantage of any loopholes. They are just taking advantage of what's already there, which is the tax structure. If I want to make money, I should set up a nonprofit agency. Now, there's just people come to me all the time wanting to set up a nonprofit agency, a 501c3. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've never set up a nonprofit agency because I want to make money. We show you how to set up a private family foundation, which is different than a public foundation. A public 501c3, which is a lot of people want to set up, and that you see Boys and Girls Club, etc., and that you set up because you want to help people. You have to have a board. You have to have a mission. You have to stick with that mission. If you want to serve girls, you can't serve boys. If you want to do coats, you can't do clothes. You can't do seniors. It's very restrictive. Your board then oversees your budget and your job and can hire and fire you. So if this is something you want to do, then you should set up a private family foundation in which you are the only trustee. And you have a lot of leeway in a private family foundation. You can invest money, you can buy property, you can give to other nonprofits, and you can keep money in your bank account. You're not allowed to do that if you have a nonprofit. Any money you have has to be put back into the agency. You can't invest, buy property, and do other things. So there's a big difference, although it's the same document, depending on the box you check when you're submitting this, we suggest that you be a private family foundation. Henry Ford said, if people understood the banking system, there would be a revolution tomorrow morning. Because most of us don't. We go to work every day and we go put our money in the bank and then can't get it back out. So the 1040, all of us are familiar with doing that. We usually do a Schedule A, which includes our mortgage interest, et and then if we have a business, we do a Schedule C because we're doing sole proprietorship, which pulling the world back into our own personal tax records because we use our Social Security number. When you do, and I want you all to download this because again, this isn't something I invented. This has been around for 200 years. When you have a complex trust, you do a 1041. You fill out how much money came in, how much money went out, and then that's it. And this is the form you send out in to the EOS. It doesn't get audited, etc. Because the IRS is not going to bother with this because they don't know what your trust said it was going to do. A complex trust provides its trustee with shelter, communication, transportation, education. So Wendy's trust may be providing education, pay for the college education for her kids, and Lynette may be paying for private school for her children. But again, remember who set this up. People say, Given the government, the question came up the other day, we have a new presidency. Will the rules for 1041 change? Nope, never has. The only thing that changed in the last 200 years, well, maybe 150 years, was it's not taxed at 39%. The last administration brought it down to being taxed at 37%. But we show you how to move that money so you end up zeroing out, not paying any taxes. This is not going to be changed and not go away. But if you've been doing a 1040, you know how they've changed the deductions and reduced deductions on that Schedule A and Schedule C for everyday people. So the 4 keys to wealth that we teach at Be Connected is put your money in the correct tax position, how to protect your wealth, how to separate, that's separating your business from your personal, getting your wealth to work for you. We talk to you about how to set up endowments, how to set up private family banking. Some of you may have heard of that. It's called infinite banking. And how to pass on your wealth by setting up complex trusts, how to set a bloodline clause so that only your children will always be trustees or successor trustees to your trust, so that in-laws or spouses will never have access to your assets. So these are the things that we teach you in the 4 keys to wealth. So if you want to learn more about how to, if you want me to go into more details about the 4 keys to wealth and the advantages of setting up a complex trust, then just go to beconnectedlife.com and you can set up an appointment for a free one-on-one consultation. And I think that's my time.
Okay, Dr. Gail, so I actually have some questions for you. All right, my first question for you is, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm over here working too, y'all. My first question for you is, how do you own something but have it in your trust?
If you own it outright, you just sign it over to the trust. Yes. And if you own a home, for instance, and so a lot of us may own a home in which you have a mortgage, you can make your trust, add your trust to the deed. Now, we work with you to see, because in some states, if you add somebody to the deed, it triggers that note being due. So we'll work with you to see if your state is one of those. If it is, then what we suggest is you place a lien. Say you have a house worth $250,000 and you got $50,000 worth of equity. Anybody can place a lien. So your trust will place a lien on your house so that if anything happens, when that house is sold, that money goes tax-free. I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to say that. Money that goes in investments, real estate, does not face a capital gains tax when it's inside a complex trust.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My next question for you, and this is probably the best one. What is a complex trust?
A complex trust differs from a regular trust that your attorney may set up. A trust that is set up by an attorney is based on statutory or state law. A complex trust that we set up is a federal contract. And that's why it can operate anywhere in the nation and internationally. So there is a difference. And a lot of training that I went through was attended by attorneys because they're only trained in state law when they get their license, and they license in certain states. And so they cannot do complex trusts, but they're now, some of them are being trained. So if you go to your regular attorney, they won't know how to do a complex trust.
Okay, now Zhivi also asked, is it the same thing with an LLC with an S corp?
With an LLC, you would do a multi-member LLC. You would then make your complex trust a member, so that if you have any excess income, you move it to your trust so that you zero out. So at the end of the year, all you have is your expenses in your LLC, and that $1 million you made in your LLC got moved tax-free over to your business trust. If you have an S corp or a C corporation, you have owners, and so you would make the trust an owner.
Okay, the next question is, can you switch from a public nonprofit to a private nonprofit?
No, what we do is, an IRS says that because it warns you against scams. You should start brand new because there are different EIN numbers. You could just close out your old one and get a new EIN number. The same thing with LLCs. You just start a new one and close out an old one because you don't want anybody who was in that old LLC to try to sue you, and now you have your new LLC. So it's just easier, you know, a couple of $100 to start a new and get a new EIN numbers.
Okay, now that's all for the questions that we have for Dr. Gail. Oh, okay, wait, we got one coming in. Can you switch to a multi-LLC?
If you're a single member LLC, yes, you can switch, fill out the paperwork for your state. I had to do it on one of my LLCs and make it a multi-member. Yes, you can. If you're a sole proprietorship, you can't. You need to establish a new LLC.
Okay, so I'm going to kick it back over to Wendy now. Wendy, go ahead and introduce our next guest.
Sure will. Thank you, Dr. Kaye Hamilton, for those 4 keys to wealth. Bringing us emotional wellness is our expert, Kaye Henry. Kaye Henry is a New York State licensed mental health counselor with over 15 years of experience. She specializes in healthy, positive mindsets and healthy living. She is also the host of a podcast called Black Therapy Uncensored. Please join me in virtually welcoming Kaye Henry.
Okay. Hello. Good day, everyone. It's your favorite friendly neighborhood person talking to you today regarding emotional wellness. So when I thought about emotional wellness and we're transitioning from the year 2020 to 2021, I thought what would be beneficial for people today in the next 12 minutes or so that I may have. So usually when we're talking about transitioning from one year to the next, I like to focus on setting goals. I don't like to call them resolutions because what happens with resolutions? We don't accomplish them. So let's face it, usually by like February, if we make it that long, everyone drops their goals, whether it's to lose weight, save money, plan for a trip, purchase something big. By February, everyone's burnt out and no one's trying to accomplish any resolutions. We've all just given up. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about goal setting, and then I'm going to tie that into emotional wellness, and I'm going to wrap it up really nice so that it all makes sense to you. All right, so again, like I said, a lot of us struggle with our goals. The new year is right around the corner. Listen, we have less than 60 days before 2021 shows its face. And again, by February, most of us have given up if we've made it that long. And goals are scary. How many of you have set a goal, but then when you really look at it, you don't really accomplish it? Or you didn't explain it properly to yourself. You weren't specific with it. It's not personal to you. Maybe it's a goal somebody else wants to accomplish and you don't really want to accomplish it. It's not positive. And also, it's not realistic. And so those are 4 elements we need when we are setting goals for ourselves. Also, we might ask ourselves these questions. If we succeed, what is next after I set this goal? And if you don't succeed, what is next? Most people are afraid of failure, which is why setting goals usually they're not accomplished because we don't want to fail. And I'm here to tell you, it's okay to fail. It's all right. If you don't accomplish a goal, it's not the worst thing in the world. You probably need to sit down with someone like me and figure out where did I go wrong in setting my goal? And it's usually those 4 components that I gave you. Your goal is probably not important to you. You didn't specify what you want to accomplish, so there's no quantitative element to it where we can measure it out and say, hey, like in 2 weeks, I want to save $100. Saving money and then being specific about what you want to save are 2 different things. It's also not realistic, and it's also probably not a positive goal. Saying that I don't want to put on weight is not really positive. Saying, hey, I want to be healthier and I want to lose 5 pounds is a little bit more positive and a little bit more realistic. And what if I told you that breaking them down into smaller steps, more achievable steps, would help you stick to the task at hand and help you achieve them? So it's how I explain it to my clients, because I've been doing a lot of goal setting lately and making people create 5-year plans instead of like just 1 year. Let's go for 5 years. Is you have to not just think about the goal, but think about the steps to reaching a goal. So yes, you want to accomplish that goal, but you're not going to reach that goal specifically if you don't accomplish the steps that precede it. So it's all those little steps that add up to that big goal that you want to accomplish. Some questions that I want you to think about as I go through this is, how many of you feel overwhelmed when thinking about what the new year will bring? 2020 hasn't been easy for any of us. Even if you've had a boost of good luck, it's even had its trials and tribulations that went along with it. And so we're gonna go into my foolproof way to accomplish your goals without giving up completely. Yes, you are going to get slightly discouraged with setting your goals. So that is the realistic part. But it's just continuing along that path so that you can continue to accomplish your goals. So here's what I want you to do from now into the new year. If you're taking notes, that's fine. If you take mental notes, that's okay as well. Everyone has their way of absorbing and taking in information. From now until the new year and the 90 days that are following, you want to set goals several ways. First, you want to start with a yearly goal. So what do you want to accomplish in 2021? Right? So that's the big goal at hand. It takes 12 months to make up a year. So you obviously can't accomplish your yearly goal by March. Anyone that tells me that, I'm looking at them crazy like, well, the year's not over. And so that's not a yearly goal. That was probably a 90-day goal that you set for yourself. You also then want to take that yearly goal and break it down. What are you trying to accomplish monthly? Each month is a new month, a new 30 days, 31 days, 28 days to accomplish another goal. Break that goal down even further. Weekly, what is my weekly goal? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish weekly? And look at that. There's 7 days in a week. Sometimes for me, and the goal doesn't have to be anything prolific. So it doesn't always have to be related to work. It could be something personal. Maybe it could be, for me, it's me being a morning person. I'm not a morning person. So usually my goal is to not hit snooze on the alarm when I wake up Monday through Friday. When people think of goals, they think like it has to be something great and grandiose. Goals could be something as simple as smile at my coworkers Monday through Friday so I don't lose my ish at 9 a.m. in the morning. Like those are like simple things. And when I explain it to people, they're like, well, I can kind of do that. That sounds simple, okay? That sounds manageable. I can do that. Doesn't require so much effort, okay? And then you take that weekly goal and daily, what do you want to accomplish? Again, if I personalize it to me, sometimes my goal is to eat breakfast in the hour that I wake up so that I'm refreshed, so that I have energy, so that I'm not moody, so that I'm not upset. Because maybe the daily goal or the weekly goal is that I have energy by the end of the week. So again, as you can see, if we take the little steps, they build up to the goals, which lead up to the bigger goal. And before you know it, you have a whole year and you've accomplished your goals. So again, you want to set a yearly goal. So what's your goal for 2021? Set a monthly goal. What is your goal for January? What's your goal for February? What's your goal for March? I always say, see the year in 4 parts. So each quarter, right now we're in the 4th quarter. So we're ending out year 2020, which is what we want to do. And so then you should start working on the 1st quarter of 2021 from January to March. What do I want to accomplish in those 3 months? Yes, this is how I want 2021 to look, but what do I really want to accomplish? What's realistic for me to accomplish in January, February, and March? So that I'm not taking on the whole year, I've broken it down. Because each quarter has different goals that lead up to that yearly goal. And then they all connect, so they can all connect with one another, your goals, or they can just somehow simultaneously stand alone, but also coincide with one another. So that's part 1. The issue with the goal setting is trying to stay focused on your goals. And the way you stay focused is to recap, and this is where gratitude comes in, recap what you've achieved daily, weekly, monthly, and eventually yearly. So you can't get to the yearly part until the end of the year. So making mental notes and asking yourself, hey, what went well today? So focusing on the positive, because that creates a positive mindset. And that's what we're trying to create within us. I'm all about positive energy and dwelling on the positivity and seeing, you know, the silver lining, rather than seeing, well, like, man, today didn't go well, like my car stalled, you know, I got a flat tire, I was late. Instead of seeing those negatives, well, being late saved me from being in that accident. Or, you know, I was able to, if you have a flat on your car, I was able to have time in my car to myself, and it slowed me down a little bit when I'm usually rushing. I was able to prepare myself a little bit more for a meeting that I needed to be at. So putting into that perspective helps you. So recapping, what do you want to achieve daily? What went well weekly? So now we get to the week. Now you got to the end of the week. Depending on when your week ends, everyone's week ends differently. Mine usually ends on Saturday because I work like 6 days a week. So for me, at the end of today is, hey, what went well for me this week? And then I go through that. And then monthly, what went well this month? We're almost at the end of November. So November 30th, looking at that and seeing, hey, what went well in November? November went by in a flash. Like it started and we're like literally at the end. Thanksgiving's like this week. And then eventually, when you get to the end of the year, recapping. What went well for me this year? When you can see all of that, then you notice all the positives. How many of us are now thinking like, wow, did that happen in January? Like, and that happened in February? That happened in March? I describe to people, so what happened in 2020 is we had 2020 from January, February, March, then we had the year of COVID. And then somehow we've bounced back into 2020, and they're like COVID and 2020 are intermingling with one another. So we've like, it's like we're in a simulation and I'm waiting for it to end so that we can go into 2021. So if you look at it that way, then it makes more sense. And you're like, oh, like that happened in January? How many times did we look back and we're like, oh yes, that good thing did happen. I thought that was last year, or I thought that was 2 years ago. And it really wasn't. It was literally this year. But because we don't spend time looking at the good things, we totally forget that they happened this year. All right, so how you're all saying, okay, how does this connect to emotional wellness? Like, all right, so I'm gonna connect the dots for you all. And so when we can reflect on and see the positive, we are more motivated to do positive things to reach our goals. And so gratitude is everything and helps increase our emotional wellness. Positivity increases your emotional wellness. If you are negative, if you are pessimistic, if you always see the clouds in the sky and the rain is falling and woe is me and things ain't going right, then of course, you're not going to accomplish anything, because you're going to spend all your days, your weeks, your months, your year doing the things that are getting you away from your goal. Well, why, you know, the scale's not going down, so why am I going to eat healthy? Well, eating healthy is not necessarily about losing weight. It's about feeling healthy and just having energy and just being able to wake up without, you know, pain in your side or in your back or in your leg or, you know, whatever it may be, okay? And so setting goals is one thing, accomplishing them is another thing. And so when we achieve a goal, big or small, again, it increases our self-validation. If you all know what validation is, usually it's external. And so when we're younger, we usually get that from like our parents, right? They tell us, good job, and you're so beautiful, and you're so smart, and you're like amazing, right? But as you get older, especially in adulthood, we have to develop something called self-validation. Whereas if we don't have those external sources, and we're having a really bad day or month, or for some people, they say it's the year, even though it probably was only 3 months, okay? We rely on ourselves to boost us up to continue to accomplish that goal. And so when it comes from within, it reduces the need for external validation, especially again, during those times when we do feel discouraged in trying to accomplish our goals. So emotional wellness, bring it into emotional wellness, is the ability to learn and grow from our experiences. As adults, we are continuously learning. We are still growing. Okay, when I talk about growth, I don't talk about like physical growth. Obviously, that happened with puberty when puberty ended. But emotional growth, spiritual growth, mental growth, mental wellness. You want to gain mental wealth. You want to grow in that sense. You want to develop those skills. And so some of this includes self-care, developing our strengths, stress reduction. We also want to acknowledge our positive and negative emotions to help us evolve into better human beings. That includes a healthy mindset. So my whole hashtag, one of my hashtags, because I have plenty of them, is a healthy mind leads to a healthy life, leads to healthy living. So if your mind is not right, emotionally, you're not going to be okay. Mentally, you're not going to be okay. Spiritually, you're not going to be okay. Like all of that stuff, your brain is the command center. And if that is not functioning well, everything else is not going to be functioning well, no matter how hard you try. And you're not going to be motivated, bringing it back to the beginning to accomplish your goals. All right, so going through some things that you may want to jot down is first, how do we manage our emotional wellness? Stress management is key. Managing stress takes a lot of time and effort, and most people don't want to put in the time and effort. Remember, you are in control of you. And so if you want to see any improvements, you have to manage things. We talked earlier with Lynette talking about time management. You also need stress management. That's how we manage our emotions, okay? And that's how we put everything into balance, which brings me to my next point. Balance is key. I'm a Libra, so when things are out of balance, I'm wacky. Things have to be in balance for me. So if one area is not flowing well, I have to bring it in balance with everything else. And so sometimes that means stepping back from things and evaluating what is going on in the moment and what do I need to improve. Physical health is important. I can stress this with people. I don't know how to stress this enough. Take care of your physical health. It's not just exercising, it's also eating right. So what you put in is how your body's going to react to that. If you put toxins in your body and wondering why you're so tired, you're sleepy all the time, you're irritable, you're angry, you just, your relationships are poor with other people. Physical health is important. So taking care of that boosts your emotional wellness. Think about when you exercise. How do we feel after we exercise? Most people feel energized. You feel happy, you feel positive. Even if something bad happens afterwards, you're like, that's fine, it's all right, I'm okay. You're able to have a more positive outlook on the situation rather than crumbling up and possibly, dying. Connecting with others helps with your emotional wellness. I know we're in the time of COVID, and so we all have to socially distance and keep away from other people, but connecting via FaceTime, writing a letter, sending emails, sending text messages, whatever it may be, connecting with others. I believe in the human connection. And if you read any psychology book, the human connection is very important. When we don't connect with people, that's one surefire way to kill yourself off. And the connection also can be with God. Ramona talked about spiritual wellness. Connecting with God through prayer. That doesn't have to be done with other people. That you could just have your moment with God and talk to him. So connecting with others is very important. Tapping into your purpose. This goes back to the goal setting. What is your purpose? What is God calling me to do? What is it that I need to do? What is my God-given talent? When you tap into that, you feel good on the inside. Now, this is one that I struggle with, but I'm gonna tell you all. Think before you act, right? So there's reaction and there's responses. A lot of us have knee-jerk reactions, which is why we have conflicts with other people and we have misunderstandings. Because instead of listening to respond, we just react right away. I heard half of what they said, so I'm gonna react. Instead of hearing the whole thing, processing it in the moment, and then responding. So it's thinking before you act. What do I need to do in this situation to have the best outcome? Express your feelings in a positive way. Like I tell people, it's not what you say, it's how you say, right? We've heard that phrase plenty of times. So you can be angry and upset, but you can't be disrespectful when you're angry and upset. You can be sad, you can feel that emotion. So it's okay to feel those emotions. It's how you express them to other people that helps with your emotional wellness. And lastly, I want to end with just examine your emotions and your reactions and be mindful of how you react to people, places, and things. Knowing your triggers and knowing that you're in control of who you are. You're in control of how you react, how you feel. You're in control of everything. And so you're in control of your emotional wellness. Do not let your emotions get the best of you. People usually lead with their heart, and that's okay. I don't fault those people, but we also have to think. We have to use our brains, we have to use our mind, and our heart have to work together to be the best versions of ourselves. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to stop there if we have any questions.
No, ma'am, there are no questions for you in the chat. Oh, wait a minute. Here's
one.
There's one. What are things that help in narrowing our goals?
So the 4 elements that I gave when we started off to help narrow down your goals is they have to follow 4 elements. I teach this to kids in school, so it can help adults as well. And usually it's like a epiphany. So your goal should be specific to you, so it should be measurable. So in anything we do in mental health, everything has to be measurable. If you've ever been in therapy, they have treatment plans, there's objectives, and there's goals, and all those are measurable. In 90 days, client will be able to express 1 to 3 feelings that will help increase their interpersonal relationships with other people. That is a measurable outcome. You know that in 90 days, we should see an improvement in your interpersonal relationships with other people. If it's not stated that way, it's not measurable, and most people can't accomplish your goals. Your goals should also be positive. It's not that I'm going to eat less sweets, it's I'm going to eat an apple every day after dinner. That is more positive. Your goal also needs to be possible, realistic. If you're telling me like I'm gonna be the next Beyonce, but yet you don't sing or dance, I'm looking at you crazy. And I've heard people tell me that before, and I'm like, okay, but you don't do nothing that would lead you to be Beyonce right now. So I don't think you're going to be Beyonce, but let's look at it and see how we can get close to that or start on that goal. And then your goal has to be important to you. How many of us set goals and they're really not important to us? If you've been in a relationship, it might be something your significant other wants to accomplish, but you really didn't want to accomplish. But you're just going along with it because, you know what, I don't want any static. And then do you really accomplish the goal? No. So that's how you would narrow it down. But also looking at your purpose, like, really, is this a goal that I want to accomplish? Is this a 5-year goal that's going to happen in year 5, or is this a goal that I can accomplish right now? Does that help? I think that was Aurelis who posted that. Okay.
All right. So that was all the questions for Kaye, but I actually got some questions for you, our audience. And now I'm going to say this, the speakers, you're in on this as well, because you can win these prizes as well because you didn't know what was going on. So we have some questions. So Lynette Phillips is giving away a copy of her book. And in order to get a copy of her book, you have to answer one question. What are some necessities to put in your time budget? So I'm going to see who's paying attention. Oh, I see some typing too. Okay, so I have okay, so the person with the closest answer is going to be Arielis. She came through first with sleep, exercise, time for yourself. And what Lynette gave me as the answer is sleep, mental clarity, physical movement, and quality time. So Adley Ellis is going to be the person who won Lynette's book. Now I have another question. Now wait a minute. Dr. Gail is giving away a copy of Wisdoms from a Queen. So those of you who haven't already received a copy, here's your chance to get a free copy of it. Okay. How does a complex trust create generational wealth? Oh, and Diane Chisholm. I just got some information from Lynette. She said she's going to send you a copy of her book as well because you also answered the question verbatim. So we're giving away 2 copies of Lynette's book. So Eddie Ellis and Diane Chisholm get a copy of her book. Okay. I'm looking at the answers that's coming through. Okay, so Siobhan Lee, her answer. Hold on, no, I'm sorry. Let me. Okay, so yeah, I gotta stop. I'll say okay, so some of these answers, this is some of them. Okay, so the answer is going to be I think that's Ethan Hernandez. Is that how you pronounce that name? I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Ethan Hernandez answer is closely related and was the first one to come through. So
I think
I'm
her
going to
name
get
is
your information.
Cammie. It's Ianthe.
Ianthe. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Ianthe Hernandez. All right, so we're giving away a copy of that. All right, you guys. So now we are actually going to take a brief intermission for about 10 minutes. And while we're on this intermission, I'm going to share my screen with you all. And we're going to be running a couple of ads of all of the speakers who you have already seen, as well as some of the ones that's coming up. So it's going to give you a little information about how you can get in touch with them. Kaye, but before we leave, can you type in the chat to everyone how to get to your podcast? So put the link in the chat to everyone. All right, you guys. So I am going to be back in about 10 minutes. I'm going to share my screen with you all so you can see this ad. You guys, we'll see you in a few moments. Okay, you guys, we are back. We are back. We are back. And let me just say this. While we're back, let me let you know that while we were gone, I got word from Dr. Gail that Siobhan Lee, we're going to also give you a copy of her book, Wisdom from a Queen. So you get a copy of that. Everyone who got a copy, who won a free copy, I will be reaching out to you and contacting you to get your physical address so that these beautiful women can send you out some gifts. Now, I'm going to kick it back over to Wendy because it is time for another dynamic speaker, and I am super excited about this second half of this series. It is going to be phenomenal. I hope you have learned a lot from the first half because the second half is going to be equally as great. So, okay, Wendy, I'm going to let you take it, and you go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Sure, and I am so excited too for this next half. Kicking it off is our creative expert. Sonja Danette Harris is a rush of magnetic and positive energy in everything she does. She's an entrepreneur, an educator, an author, an actress, a singer, and a songwriter. Please join me in virtually welcoming Miss Sonja Danette.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. So glad you all could be here for this momentous occasion. Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you, Cammie and NRI Wellness, for having me today. So excited. Everyone can hear me, right? Good. Okay, just making sure. And whenever I hear someone talk about everything I do, I'm like, God, dog, that's a lot of stuff. But anywho, I'm so excited to be here again. My name is Sonja Harris. My artist name, aka, is Sonja Danette. And I'm here. I'm the owner of Dasi Group, LLC, is Diversified Arts and Services International Group, where we do education, publishing, and entertainment in order to house the artist Sonja Danette and all things creative, as well as tailored tutored language services where we offer instruction, tutoring, and translation services in Spanish and English. Now, why am I here? I am here to talk about creative wellness. Creative wellness. What is creative wellness? It is simply all of us enjoying and actively participating in the creativity and in the world around us. We are all creatives in some way, shape, or form. We are all creatives. If you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, I know that you're creative because you had to come up with an idea. You had to, be creative. You had to create something. So you are creative. We are all creative in some form or fashion. And the wellness aspect is so important because we can't have complete wellness without that creativity part. Now, Cammie said 10 tips. So I was like, what can I do? 10 tips. That kind of sounds like a lot. But I was like, okay, here we go. I'm going to do an acronym and is ready for it. READYFORIT. Yes, no crazy spelling or text language there. Ready for it is the acronym that I'm going to give the tips in developing and keeping that creative wellness, keeping yourself at that optimal level of creativity, because that's where we want to function and that's where we function our best. And everyone who's gone before me, you guys were awesome and amazing. And I've gotten so much information. You guys totally rock. All right, so let's start. R is for real. And real, when I say real, I'm saying 100, authentic, being real with yourself. Are you real? Are you really taking your self-reflection? Are you taking that seriously? Criticism, I don't say that in a critical manner, but constructive criticism. Are you being 100 with yourself? Because before you can be real with anyone else and create something real and meaningful, you do have to be real with yourself. So R is for real. E is for elevated. And right now we have these catchy, hashtags, positive vibes only, vibrate higher. And there's nothing wrong with those. I use them as well, okay? But sincerely, are you living your life and in that space of elevation where your thoughts and your actions and your behaviors are elevated at an elevated level? Because when you're thinking high, quote unquote, you're able to create even more meaningful pieces. Yes, a lot of times when we feel negative emotions, we're also able to create some really dope-ish. I am a complete testament to that. But that is not saying that you're not vibrating high. It's about your response. It's about your response to whatever may have happened to you. Because if creativity is your response to that negative event or that, experience you had, then that is still a very positive and high vibrating, thing to do and way to respond to that. So in order to be in that optimal space of creativity, you got to think high. You got to elevate yourself. You have to be elevated. A is attentive. Pay attention. And so what is this whole thing about is about your wellness, taking care of yourself, paying attention to yourself, paying attention to yourself physically, paying attention mentally, emotionally, checking in on yourself on the regular so that you can stay in that creative space. Pay attention, being attentive not only to yourself, but also to those around you who you care about. If you really care about a person, including yourself, you're going to be attentive. Be attentive to your needs. Pay attention to what you may be lacking, what you may be feeling in that moment, because we are all beings who need different things at different times. Today I might need coffee at 12. I didn't get coffee though, I got tea. But yes, you have to pay attention to your needs. If you need to eat, if you need to take a nap, you got to be attentive to yourself, because that aids in that creative process as well. D is for dedicated. Ooh, yeah. So are you committed? Are you dedicated to whatever it is that you have set out to do? Whatever it is that you have set out to create, whatever mark you are leaving on this planet, are you dedicated? Are you committed, regardless of what obstacle may exist? Are you committed and are you dedicated to seeing it through, and following through? That's super important, because a lot of times we may come to, what people call writer's block, or like just where you just really can't feel like you can't think of anything, or the ideas are not coming. Are you going to be dedicated to get through that? Because on the other side of that block is an idea, is a great idea, is a great creation, is a work that is for you. Absolutely. So that's real, elevated, attentive, dedicated. The Y is you. You as in YOU. Are you you? Are you being yourself? And being true to yourself? true to who you are, living out your truth. That is extremely important and critical, I think, to living your best life and being creative at that optimal level, because no one else can be you. No one else can be you. And it's totally okay to be inspired by someone else's idea or someone else's work, but you can still create something that is from you. It's okay to be inspired, meaning, oh, well, I like that and I can learn from that, or I can take an idea from that art or from that work. That's when you're inspired. And so you can still absolutely create amazing work that's authentically you, even with inspiration, because inspiration is all around us and is there to use to create even more beauty in the world. Now, F is for fresh. Not that kind of fresh, but fresh. Fresh as in living in the freshness and the newness of now. As entrepreneurs, as business owners, we are always planning ahead. We are always looking to the future, thinking about, things we need to do, things we need to scratch off the list. We got our list ready. We got, I got my first quarter, I got my second quarter. We are always looking to the future, but it's so important to live in the now, to be in the now, what is happening now, and to appreciate and be grateful for what is now. What is now? And don't let that slip away or take it for granted. You can plan for the future, but just make sure to be in the now, because that creativity can really get popping if you really, be present and in the moment. You don't want to miss those opportunities. O is for open. Be open. Are you open to new ideas and new ways of doing things? If you remain in an open mindset, then you are a lot more able to be creative and create things that you've never created before, that you never even thought that would be possible for you. Being open to new ideas and new ways of doing things is extremely important to maintaining that high level of creativity. R, resilient. Yes. Are you resilient? If you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, I know that you are resilient. I don't have to ask. I know that you are. I know that you can take a licking and keep on ticking. Okay? So being resilient, and I cannot, gloss over resilient without mentioning Cammie. She is so resilient, and she has, persevered to the place where what she wants and the vision that she had is now reality. We see it. Each and every one of you are seeing the fruits of her resilience in that creative mode. She was able to create. She had a vision and she was able to create, of course, with the help of others. So yes, be resilient. Keep going. Keep going, no matter what your dreams or goals are. Be resilient. Keep going, okay? The I is for intentional. Are you intentional? Everything that you see, everything that has ever been created had an intent. It had an intent. You have to have an intent. You have to have an intent for whatever it is that you're doing, your purpose. And every single person who has spoken today, every single expert mentioned purpose, because it's vital. It's vital to your life, it's vital to your wellness, to every aspect. You have to be intentional about your wellness, creative wellness, emotional wellness, financial, every aspect. You have to be intentional. Even in creativity, a lot of times we're just like, we do the freestyle thing and we're free flowing. And even in that, being intentional is important. Okay, being intentional, I'm going to intentionally create an atmosphere where I know I am most creative. Absolutely. And last but not least is turned. Are you turned? That's Turnt. Turned. Okay. Are you energized? Are you excited about the things that you are doing? When you allow yourself to be creative, there are so many different areas and different aspects of creating. There's writing, there's dance, there's drama, there's, you know, artwork like pottery, there's ceramics, there's, you know, painting, there's, it is endless. There's photography, everything. Okay. Are you excited? Are you excited? You have to be excited about what you're doing. And a lot of times, gracias, a lot of times we lose that energy, we lose that momentum when we're, you know, going and going and going. That's why those other aspects of wellness are so important. When you maintain and when you have that energy, you are a lot more able to create and remain in that creative space where you're functioning high and at that optimal level. And that is all that I have. Are you ready for it? Real, elevated, attentive, dedicated, you, fresh, open, resilient, intentional, and turned. For 2021 Creative Wellness, again, I'm Sanja Danette, and now the floor is open for any questions. Thank you, guys. Peace. Oh, I'm done.
That was absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. I'm sure everyone else did too. And I'm ready for it. I think we all are. Oh my goodness. I am so enjoying this virtual summit. And let's keep it moving with the next expert, Miss Zhivi Williams. She is our physical wellness expert. Yes, Miss Williams is the owner of LBX Fitness, where she helps women transform the body by renovating the mind. She is the author of Who Needs a Dim? Using Social Media for Weight Loss, and a workbook, 30 Days to a Fabulous You. You can find her Monday through Friday doing free Facebook Live workouts to help all people reach their goals, no matter what their fitness levels. Please join me in virtually welcoming Ms. Zhivi Williams, our physical wellness expert, to the Virtual Health Summit. Thank you.
Hey everyone. So I'm just gonna kind of do this because one of the things I do in my videos is that's how I start off, right? So I'm kind of known as the hey. And so I'm so happy to be here. And I'm gonna start my timer now because I can talk a lot. And when you love what you do, 20 minutes feels like 5. So let me start the timer. Sorry, that's it, 2 hours. 10 minutes. Okay. So I do want to say that you're going to hear me say some words that other presenters have already said. Just it was in their field, but it's kind of funny as I was listening and I was taking notes, I said, oh, this relates to fitness. And oh, this relates to weight loss. And this, and I was like, oh my gosh, all of these things all combined to make us a healthier person. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I want to be able to interact with everyone. So there's 3 things I want you to do. The first thing is I want to make sure everybody knows where the chat area is. So if you know where the chat area is, just type the word yes for me, please. Oh, great. So a lot of people know where it's at. So go ahead and type yes. Now, I'm going to start with 2 questions. The very first question, the very first thing I want you to type into this chat area is, tell me one reason why people want to lose weight. Okay, so tell me one reason why someone would want to lose weight. I can see things popping up, looking better, image, summer body ready, social expectations of image. So, health reasons. So there's a lot of reasons why people want to lose weight, right? There's a lot of different reasons as they keep coming in. And the second thing I want you guys to type is, what excuses do people give as to why they cannot lose weight or even start a healthy lifestyle? Because I hate to say lose weight. Everybody's so used to the word lose weight. I prefer a healthy lifestyle. So what are some reasons that they say a reason or excuse people say, oh, I can't lose weight? Time and money, too costly. Somebody say, I don't know how, I don't know where to start. Time, money, energy. Okay, so those are all great things. Don't have time to cook, too sick. All right. So thank y'all for participating in that. And I'm actually going to touch on some of those things that you guys mentioned. But one of the things I wanted to say, and I heard someone say this, and it did not really dawn on me until I heard them say this. One of the things that some people, a reason they may not be able to lose weight is from things happening in their childhood. So sometimes you may have to look back in your childhood because maybe it's something that someone ingrained into your thinking. I'm going to give you a very great example. We eat with our eyes, right? We eat with our eyes. And part of that is because that's the way we grew up. And what I mean by that is this. How many of y'all sat at the table when you were little and your parents said to you, you better eat all that food on that plate, right? But you full, like, but I can't eat no more. But they telling you, you need to eat all that food on that plate. And they give you, some of you might get reasons. Some of y'all might get if you don't eat all that food, you gonna get a whooping, right? So what we do, that's ingrained in us. So what we do as an adult, we try to eat all the food on our plate. And we full. We're full and we'll still try to continue to eat although we're full. So sometimes, and I heard somebody say this, sometimes you have to go to therapy because sometimes what's blocking you from losing weight is an experience that you had as a child. And that could be anything. Maybe it's divorce. Maybe you were fat shamed as a kid. So maybe it's that. Like sometimes it could be those things. The next thing is we're going into 2020. I want you to think about is what's your why? Somebody else said this, but not related to fitness, right? So what is your why? Why do you want to lose weight? And I say that because y'all gave me some reasons, but do you know that sometimes your why has to be so big that it's not going to stop you from doing or continuing on the journey regardless of what happens? And a lot of times what I find is that why is just not strong enough. So you can say, oh, I want to lose weight. Now, a lot of us here probably tried to lose weight, and we've been on this journey before. And the reasons that you gave me may have been those reasons for you wanting to lose weight. But my question to you is, why did you stop? Because those reasons were not strong. That's not a strong enough why for you to keep going. So your why has to be so strong that no matter what happens, weather, pandemic, whatever's going on in your life, that it keeps you going. Now, we fall down, but the thing is you got to get back up and get back on track. And when I mention why, I also like to mention that even someone's health is not a strong enough why for them to keep going. So you'll see people have diabetes. The doctor can tell them, if you don't begin to start physically moving and exercising and changing the way you eat, right? And then you have diabetes and they got to cut your leg off. Do you know that's not a strong enough why for people to stop and to change their healthy lifestyle? So your why has to be strong enough for you to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. If I fall down, it's okay. Because first of all, you're not the only one that does. Everyone falls down on the journey. Don't worry about what you see other people doing, right? You have to do you and what works best for you. Next, 2 things, stress and sleep. Stress, if you didn't know this, causes cortisol, which is the fat that builds up around your abs. Lack of sleep can cause cortisol also, which also builds up fat around the stomach area. The one area all the women are like, yeah, I got to get rid of this fat on my stomach. Child, but do you know if you don't get enough sleep and if you are stressed out, part of that can come from, like part of that fat on your stomach, that can come from cortisol buildup. So you need to make sure you're getting enough rest. And everybody's rest, it can be a little different, but you definitely want to make sure you get enough sleep and you want to try to minimize as much stress in your life as possible. So going into 2020, as some people said, write your goals down. Okay, I want to be less stressful, but what does that mean, right? You have to be specific. What does less stressful mean? What does that mean? Does that mean I'm going to pray more? Does that mean I'm going to start doing yoga? What does it mean for you? Set realistic goals is another one. And so I always like to tell my clients, I'll meet with them and I'll say, you need to set some realistic goals. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. A lot of times when people start to work out, they say, okay, I want to work out 5 days a week. And I say to them, how many days you working out now? None. So you want to go from 0 to 5. That's not realistic. Because what's going to happen is you're going to stop. Your body is going to be like, I have no clue what you're doing. And I am too tired for this, right? So set realistic goals. Maybe your goal is this. For 10 minutes, 3 days a week, I am going to, exactly, somebody said SMART goals. That's very true. I am going to, for 10 minutes a day, or 10 minutes, 3 days a week, I am going to go to YouTube and get a walking video. Start there. We're in pandemic. Some people don't want to go outside, walk with a mask, right? Some of y'all said money was the issue. Well, in the pandemic, right now, money's not an issue because guess why? YouTube is free, right? So it's not really an excuse because it's free and they have 10-minute walking videos. They got beginner videos. They got all the type of stuff you need, right? And so you want to set very, very realistic goals into 2020 so that by the time March comes, you still going. You not falling off when March, February, you're not falling off because you set some realistic goals like, okay, so maybe it's this month I'm doing 3 days a week for 10 minutes. The next month, I'm going to bump that up. Maybe I'll do 15 minutes, 3 days, or maybe I add an extra day. You work your way up gradually to 30 minutes, 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, or whatever it is you want to do. Also, the other thing, because I know I'm running out of time and I could talk a lot. So the thing about it is you want to change the way you think about stuff, right? You have to change the way you think. It's a mind shift when it comes to this journey. So people out here, people say, well, I can't stop eating fried food. Well, yes, you can. Again, going back to being realistic and reality is this. No one said you had to stop eating fried food at all. No one said you had to stop eating chips. But what you could do is moderate what you do. So maybe you pick, let's say every 2 weeks, you say, okay, so every 2 weeks, maybe I might have some fried chicken, or every 2 weeks, maybe I might have some chips, or I might eat a candy bar every 2 weeks, or I might have a soda. No one said you had to completely cut everything out. And I think that's the other issue is that we try to cold turkey and your body goes into shock. And then you start having all these crazy cravings because it's like a drug. It's like people that are on drugs, when they try to stop something, right, they then begin to have withdrawals. When you do that with your body and you all of a sudden stop trying to eat all this stuff all at one time, your body begins to go through withdrawal symptoms. And if you've ever done it, that's why you have a headache. You try to stop drinking coffee, you get a headache, right? Because you should gradually pull your body away from those different things. Also, time. I had to laugh about the pandemic because one thing that y'all said was, I don't have time, right? I don't have time. So being the case, what's the excuse now? Because a lot of us, like I'm working from home still. So a lot of us are working from home. So what happened to that time when you were getting up in the morning, getting dressed, having to drive to work, right? What happened to that time? Now is it like, oh, I get to sleep late? No, why are you sleeping late? That's your workout time, right? That's the workout time. Or what about you were driving home after work? That's the new workout time. And again, you set a realistic time frame. So that to me, I kind of look at like, there's no excuse because now you probably do have the time to kind of whatever happened to that time when I was getting up in the morning, having to get people ready. Now your kid's not getting up early now like that. So you just still get up at the same time, like starting January. If you used to get up at 5, you still get up at 5. That gives you like an hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes to get a workout in on YouTube, right? On YouTube for free in your house before someone's kids get up, right? Before all of that stuff happens. And then you can just gradually move into those things. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, because I am going through this and hate it so much, is menopause. So I am 47 and the menopause, let me just tell y'all realistically, everybody's menopause story and everybody's menopause journey is different. But what I will tell you about mine is I've worked out for a long time. And like a lot of people, I haven't eaten as healthy as I should during pandemic. But when I tell you this body fat that comes on my stomach out of nowhere and doesn't seem to want to leave because I'm going through menopause can be a little irritating. And so and some of you may be there, some of you might be across the border of menopause, some of you might be getting close. And I'll tell you this, regardless of what your journey is, just keep going, right? You will wake up one day and maybe you like are toned and you've been doing it. I woke up one day and had cellulite and was just like, where did that come from? But guess what? I don't stop. I just keep going, because when it comes to this physical body, the most important thing is that you are physically healthy. Is it good to look nice on the outside? Of course it is. We don't want to look good on the outside. It is more important that your inside is healthier than your outside, right? We don't want to be having diabetes. We want to have heart attacks. We want to avoid all of those things, as many things as possible, so that we can see our grandkids, so we can live as long as possible, so we can be at our children's weddings. We want to be able to walk up and down stairs. You don't want to wait to the point where it's too late, where you're like, man, I can't walk up these 2 stairs without stopping and catching my breath. So it's better to be healthy on the inside. And then you just work on the outside. So y'all make sure you're drinking your water. I didn't get a chance to talk about food, but I did mention that everything should be done in moderation, right? And then you just slowly draw back. One other thing I will say, and then I'm going to stop, and if there's some questions, is this. Regardless of what type of eating plan that you decide to do, so I don't like to say diet, because when people follow a diet and they stop and they reach their goals, they gain weight and then they gain back more than they did when they started, right? Now we got to start all over, but at a higher weight. So you always want to make it a lifestyle change. Whatever it is you're going to do. If it's keto, make it a lifestyle change. If it's Mediterranean diet, make it a lifestyle change. I don't like to say diet at all. I just say I'm changing my eating habits, and this is what I'm going to do because I like to eat ice cream, and I'm eating peach cobbler next week. And then, so there are certain things I like and I enjoy to eat. That don't mean I can't eat them. That just means I have to eat them in moderation. I eat peach cobbler once a year. So it's those type of things that you should be aware of. And those things will help you stay on the journey. Just don't give up, regardless of what happens. You're going to fall down. I fall down. I don't want to work out some days. Y'all get back up, get back on track, right? And just remember, your why has to be strong enough to keep you guys moving. And that's what I got.
Okay. Okay. There are a few comments in the chat. Basically, amazing, great job, wonderful information. So thank you so much. I don't quite see any questions though. So if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Every expert is so willing to engage with the audience and answer questions. I do see something from Wanda. I need to have patience with progress in most areas of my life. Once a year for a favorite food sounds so depressing. So we have a lot of funny, transparent comments in the chat. Again, please please put your comments and questions in the chat, and we will go on to the next expert, which is Miss Angela Yvonne. She is the social wellness expert. Angela Yvonne is the producer and host of Vegan Pop Eats. She educates, showcasing the hottest vegan spaces while meeting you where you are in your journey to the green side. Her experience and expertise have been a colorful journey. She has worked with brands such as BET, Dr. Oz, Noni Chad UK, the YBF.com, and much, much more. Please join me in welcoming Angela Yvonne to the Virtual Health Summit.
Thank you so much. I am so impressed with everyone so far. And now it makes me feel like my little two minutes, I didn't give enough information, but we're going to rock with it. Everyone looks so great. Thank you, Cami, for allowing me to be part of this summit. She told you who I was, but I'll, reiterate. My name is Angela Yvonne. I started off as a publicist. That's how I got to know Cami. And my experience is very colorful, but now I am now the host and producer of a vegan lifestyle show. I gave my life over to veganism 3 years ago, and I haven't looked back. But I was given the task of explaining or, talking about social wellness. And social wellness can mean a lot of different things. It can mean how you interact with different people. It can mean what you're doing with social media, because that is a big part of our lives now. Technology is a huge part of everyone's life now, and as we're talking now, there are strides going on. So I will start off by saying that social wellness, by definition, is a relationship you have and how you interact with others. And I decided to take on the task of social media because I spend a lot of time on social media. My show is on YouTube. I also do IG Live. I also, deal with Instagram. Twitter is my favorite because I feel that you're more human on Twitter. You get more information on Twitter as far as news. If you're wanting to get the tea on whoever's doing whatever they're doing, you get it straight and you're allowed to interact more versus when you're on Instagram, it's more so giving people, like highlights. And what I found that dealing with social media, it's a plus and it's a minus when it's dealing in our day-to-day lives. The positive part of social media, in my opinion, is that you get to experience life where you are to a certain degree. Like, say, for instance, if you're in a small town and you might not be exposed to, I guess, Hollywood, or you're not exposed to, the latest fashion things that are going on probably in New York, you're able to be connected to that world and sort of make your own environment where you are. But the downside of social media is that you can also get caught up with those things that are happening outside of your space. And it sometimes makes you feel like you're either not doing enough or you're just stagnant, or the choices that you decided to make not necessarily is good. So I decided that I thought that would be more helpful for the ladies and the gentlemen who are watching the summit, that I would give you tips on how to maneuver, being part of the social, landscape. My first tip is understand that these apps are gifts and curses. Like for business, it allows you to have a bigger audience for the things that you're wanting to pursue. So if you are a business owner and you have merchandise, or you have a service, or you have, just information you're wanting to get out into the atmosphere, you're able to approach and connect to larger audiences than where your specific business has started or where it is. It's also motivational. because I follow a lot of different brands, whether they're motivational speakers, whether they're, designers or things of that nature. And it motivates me for looking at the parts of, well, I'm doing this. And most people say that, your social media sort of watches you. So you're ever sitting down and you're thinking of something, and then when you flip on Instagram or something pertaining to whatever you're thinking about will pop up, and you'll be like, oh, well, I didn't think of it that way. Or maybe if the ideas that I have, maybe I can change them or tweak them in a certain way in order for me to yield a better result. It's motivational as far as it allows you to, work at your own pace, as far as, for instance, with motivational speakers, when they tell you, different things as far as like dealing with your time or how to make your business better or things of that nature. Some of us are visual learners, or some of us are, hearing learners. I said the wrong word, but you know what I mean. But as a visual learner, you see these things and you don't become so overwhelmed as if you had someone who might have experienced a huge success story and you don't see yourself in them. But on social media, you're able to see these things, and you might not be a multimillionaire, but you're able to look at their stories, or you're able to look at their homes, and you're able to get your slice of the pie and adapt to wherever you are. But the downside is, if I'm not careful, it can make me lose sight of my mission, because everyone has their own mission. Everyone has their own journey. And however someone has gotten to a certain place does not negate how another person might have gotten there. Because I use myself for an example. I never did anything conventional. Because when you're growing up, your parents tell you, okay, you go to college, you get married, and then, college just makes, everything so much better. It's a key for you to have a different life, and it's important for you to go. But as we know now, the way that the world is, you don't necessarily have to have a college degree in order to be successful. But it is important for everything that you see, you take what is, good for what your life is about or what you are doing, and I secured the degrees. I secured 3 of them, but, it took me, turns to get to where I am now versus, the conventional way. Like I said, college, get that job, then you get married. I ain't married. But I'm gonna get there one day. But I'm not married, but I've done the conventional way, but I feel that for me, my life is so much better when I do it the non-conventional way, because there's so many blessings in the corners and the turns that you take versus you going in a straight arrow. Okay. Number 2, you have to think of Instagram as someone's highlight reel, or any social media as a highlight reel. People are not going to tell you how they got to where they are. They're just going to give you, a picture perfect scenario on how, they want you to think that their life is, because everybody wants you to think that their life is amazing. But I always think of it's more beauty in seeing the non-amazing parts, because it's important for people to understand that with social media, you get more people following you or wanting to be in your space when they can relate to you, when they can see that, oh, well, she last year she was living in, a studio apartment with 4 people. Now this year she's in a 1-bedroom. I would be more interested in that story versus I don't show you that I was in, an apartment with 4 or 5 other people, and then I just all of a sudden show you my mansion. People aren't going to relate to that. So it's important for you to understand and not beat yourself up whenever you see the different things on Instagram and social media, and to know that you are right where you're supposed to be. And last but not least, limit your time on social media. And you limit your time by participating in real life. Meditate, set goals, make self-care 100% your goals. And reevaluate what you see on these social media apps, because even though it seems like it's a fairy tale or it seems like it's unattainable, the universe knows what you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be. It's already written, and where you are right now is where you're supposed to be. And you should take delight and approval and pat yourself on the back on how proud it is for you to get through all of these things, especially in this time where we're in COVID. And COVID has been a blessing to some people, and it also has been a curse to some people. But at the same time, I think that it has allowed people to, not so, sort of put social media on the back burner to a certain degree, because they're realizing all of the things that they've idolized and all of the things that they've, put on a pedestal as in what is important. They realize that those things aren't as important as in just self-care, relationships with your spouse and relationships with your friends, and just really taking focus on what kind of life and what kind of legacy you're wanting to leave. So this is the end of my part of the conference, and I ask and I invite you to take the time out to really discover what you are really wanting to leave as a mark in this world, and to not become so obsessed with, other people's lives, because like I said before, in social media, these are highlight reels. These are not the nitty gritty. This is not the hardcore, the hard work that goes behind a lot of the things that you see. And also take what is needed for your journey whenever you're looking at the social media apps and dealing with all of the information that is being infused so hard into your brain. Just take time to make sure that, it's amazing that this person got it in a mansion, but your mansion might not look like that mansion. Yes, it's great that these people have all these materialistic things, but your materialistic things might not look like their materialistic things. And always keep yourself first. Always practice self-care, and always just, stay on the track to leave a great legacy. Thank you.
That was awesome, Angela. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We don't have any questions, but I wanted to take a minute to sort of go into why this next speaker is speaking. I want to say Missy is probably one of my greatest success stories. And I chose her to do the occupational wellness piece, not because she specializes in occupational wellness. She does not. She actually specializes in lifestyle wellness, family wellness, emotional wellness. I actually chose her to do the piece because this was her year of pivot. Missy actually started her business this year, not just one business, but several businesses. So what I wanted her to do was I wanted her to speak to you guys about finding your purpose and being in your purpose, and finding who you are, be it if you're working a job or if you are actually starting your own business. So I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Wendy so she can go ahead and introduce Missy to you guys. So go ahead, take it from here.
Sure. Melissa Wilson is our occupational wellness expert, a new business owner, life coach. Missy Williams, also known as Hood Mama, is a lifestyle and family emotional wellness coach. She offers a heart-centered, solution-focused approach to shifting and transforming difficult issues in your life using a community-based action plan. Please join me in welcoming our occupational wellness expert for the 2020 Virtual Health Summit, Ms. Melissa Wilson.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Good, good. Yes, I am life coach Melissa Wilson, aka Hood Mama. And I'm so excited to be here today. Everybody has been so amazing. Wow. All of you all have been just like giving some really, really powerful information. Thank you. Thank you. I am learning myself. I've been writing, taking notes and screenshotting stuff. So I thank you all. You all have been really helping me. So as Kemi said, I'm a lifestyle and family wellness coach. And I also have a regular job. I work for the University of Mississippi at one of the sorority houses. I work in housekeeping. And so this year, 2020, I decided that it was time for me to walk out on faith and do what it is that I love to do, what I have a passion to do. And I enjoy helping people, helping them to become better in their life and their business and whatever it is that they do. I'm like the product of all these people that you guys have already heard speaking before me, a lot of things that they were saying, the tips that they were giving, those are things that I did, I personally did in my life, and it made a difference. So I'm a product of all that stuff that they were saying. So guys, those of you who are, participants in this, what they're saying is true. Take those tips, apply those to your life. It makes a difference. Everything they're saying is totally true. So anyway, so I'm just gonna kind of tell you, a little bit about my journey in getting my business started, getting it off the ground. I'm Tammy's protege, right? That's one of the amazing things to being your business started is having people who see your vision, who are willing to invest in your vision, encourage you along the way. That's a really great thing to have in your life. And you want to make sure that you keep yourself surrounded with people like that. So one of the things that I had to learn was I had to write out my goals. I had to write out goals. I had to create a plan. And I created that plan. I had to execute the plan, start working on my plan. Because a lot of times we say, I want to start a business. Okay, what is that? What does that look like to you? So you got to have a plan. You got to have those things written down, and you have to have a way of, putting that plan together, execute. Then, whatever that business is that you want to start, make sure that you're knowledgeable in that area. I'm a life coach. Actually, I'm a certified life coach. I took a course in that. I like to educate myself in the area of family wellness, emotional wellness, all those areas, so keep yourself educated in what it is that you want to have your business in. Increase your knowledge in everything, in the financial part. Dr. Gail was saying earlier, I got a chance to talk to her, make sure you do your one-on-one with her or someone in that field, because that is very important. So you can know what you're doing, know your investments. You need to know the laws in your city and your state pertaining to your business, what licensures you need to get. Because like she said, if not, you can get in trouble, you can get sued, things like that. It's very serious. You just can't get out there and get anything or not have the proper paperwork. So those are some very important things. Know who to call. If you have friends that have successful businesses, don't be afraid to ask them questions. You don't know what's going on or you get stuck or something. Hire professionals. It's okay to, get lawyers or, people who know what they're doing, ask questions, get that stuff taken care of so that you don't make any mistakes or something that may hurt you later on down the road, it's a lot that's involved in it, Like I said, remember too, with me, I'm still working this other job. So what I've decided to do, my job at the university, I'm calling that my part-time job, okay? Because what I'm doing, life coach Missy Wilson, that's my job. That's my career. That's my 9 to 5 now. Because I've given this place, the University of Mississippi, a whole lot of time. And what I've come to realize is I put in a lot, and I've hardly gotten much out. So if I take all of that I've given to them, and I put it into building my own, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? How amazing would that be? So that's what I'm doing. I'm giving my 150 to me now, building Coach Missy Wilson, and don't get that anymore because they're not deserving of that. I gave them too much anyway, and they didn't give me hardly anything back. And that was one of the deciding factors for me to finally say, you know what, it's time for me to exit out of this, because I put in so much, and it's so disheartening to give that and still struggle, and to still be required to do so much, get added on and added on, but never get what you deserve. No. So that was one of the reasons, like the light bulb came on. Yeah. And I had to also learn, which I'm still learning, that it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I know there are success stories, I get that, but not for everybody. I realize that I may start off with one client. It may not be one client. It may take a while to get one client. One client one day will lead to 5, and 5 will lead to 10 and 50 and who knows, 100 and on and on and on. It can happen. If it happens for other people, it can happen for me. There's no difference in me and the next person. You have to believe that. No matter what it looks like, you keep going. And you keep working. You gotta work. You gotta work. I learned that, sometimes, and I learned this from my dear friend and my mentor, Tammy, sometimes I'm up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, working. And I still got to get up at 4:45 to go to the university, and show up there and stay there till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And come home, and be mother to my 17-year-old, and still build this business. But it's a sacrifice that I have to make because it's what I gave a lot of time to another business that wasn't mine. I helped somebody else build theirs, and I didn't get to reap what they're gonna reap from that. So, my favorite word is what it is. And when you learn better, you do better. So those are some of my tips, for, when you're, trying to get out there and start a business, you know what I'm saying? Just keep those things in mind. Like I said, don't be afraid to ask questions. Go to your friends. We all have friends. We all know at least 2 to 3 people who have successful businesses. At least 2 to 3. So if you're thinking about getting in some type of business, you can go to 1 or 2 of those friends, to get some, some suggestions, they can point you in the right direction. Do your research. We Google everything else. Do research, find out, what business that you want to do or to start. Is that something that's needed, in your area, and stuff like that, but you got to do the work. You got to put the time in. You got to do it. You got to work it. And you got to be dedicated. You got to be committed. All of those things. Okay? That's my time. All right. Guys, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Bye, y'all. I don't know if there are any questions for me. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
I am done. It didn't take me 20 minutes.
Thank you. We do have one question. What type of businesses do you have, from Ashley?
Hi, Ashley. Well, I have my life coaching business. Then I have a private nonprofit called POUR, and it stands for Provide, Offer, Uplift, and Rebuild. And what I do with it, just provide different resources for the community, domestic violence resources, resources for in mental health for teens, and resources for elderly people in our community. Those two are my businesses. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I'm going to keep going. I do see a lot of comments, though. Awesome, great tips. The masses can relate to what you're saying, and just overall wonderful. So thank you so much. I agree. This has been absolutely phenomenal, and I can relate to everything that you're saying as well. So finally, we have our accountability expert, Miss Janay Douglas. She is an inspirational speaker. She created a platform dedicated to connecting with women for a purpose on purpose. She's inspired the society. She is a haven of support for people determined to find purpose. Janay's mission is to incite growth through inspiration while equipping, empowering, and encouraging others. Please join me in virtually welcoming Miss Janay Douglas.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can hear me very well, give me a thumbs up in the chat that you can hear me. Yeah, I see. I'm going to share my screen here. So give me a second. Awesome. So my name is Janay, like she said. I have been over the top and overjoyed just from everyone that I've been on to hear today. And I was so excited that I'm going last because I got so much from everyone, and I was able to make my notes, my mental notes, jot down some things. So I'm excited about this. So I come to you as accountability. I'm going to go ahead and start my time because I know me, I do like to talk too, and Cammie knows that. So I want to make sure that I stay in order. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get going. So I am the accountability coach. I did that because I found myself over the years in every occupation that I have been in, being the one that holds the accountability and compliance for many of my jobs. For what I did in my background, I worked with many IT firms. I worked with many federal government contracts and things of that nature, but I was always the one to make sure that we stay on point. So what I just have done in my life is taking that same resources, those energies, and that thing that I was able to learn and cultivate there and brought it to what is really a passion for me here in my world of entrepreneurship. So today we're going to be talking about accountability. What about accountability? What I've found in the clients that I am connected to, have worked with, accountability is a word that we really don't like to talk about. And we'll talk about it in the areas of everything except for ourselves, being accountable to us. More than not, we're accountable to any and everything that we tie our hands to. And we'll talk about that as we go on. But when it comes to self-accountability, we find it very hard to hold ourselves accountable for the things that we say we're going to do. But I know that's not any of you on this line today, because I know everyone's on here is accountable. And what they say they're going to do is exactly what they're doing. But if maybe that's not you and not the case, one of the many reasons that people fail to achieve the dreams, the goals, because we're talking about transitioning into 2020, right? 2021. We come into 2020, and I know that many have went to vision parties, or you had a goal board, or whatever the case may be, and you said, these are the things I'm going to accomplish in this year. Well, a pandemic happened, it did. But if you think about the many years prior, when you say the same thing, when you actually go back to your goal board, are you able to knock off things and say, yes, I did that. Yes, I stay accountable to that. We're talking about weight loss, and I'm going to tell on myself because, you know, transparency is key. I said in 2020 that I was going to lose 30 pounds. I can probably tell you we're in November and I did not hold myself accountable to that. Matter of fact, I probably ate a little more and indulged a little bit more than I would normally have. However, I'm going to hold myself accountable to that since I know that those videos are out there for me. But then one of the main reasons I do what I do is because I want to provide the missing accountability factor to those who are looking to start business, looking to grow their businesses, looking to build. I want to hold them accountable to what they said. Ultimately, they said, I'm going to do this. My job as a temporary fix is to convince them to continue doing what they already said they're going to do in the first place. And how do I do that? I talk to them about accountability. What is accountability to them? I have them to define it back to me, because we know that Webster says accountability is the state of being accountable, while the state accountable means I'm giving an account, which in ultimate means I'm giving you a statement of expositions of reasons, causes, and motives. I am creating a cause to myself being accountable to the things that I said I'm going to accomplish. Now, what I found is these are the three areas that we should really consider when we're talking about accountability. We're talking about accountable to self, accountable to purpose, and accountable to your freedom. We've talked about that so much throughout this conference, this virtual summit, of just dealing with ourselves and finding our purpose. But ultimately, what all of that does for us is bring us to freedom. So what I wanted to do was understand, what is it in accountability that we can't hold our own selves? I found that we're accountable to a lot of things. Many people are in their dreams are accountable to a lot of things. And we lack it because we are not taking responsibilities for our own actions. Sounds familiar? If you had to really do a self-evaluation, so I'm not sure if anyone else is big on that, but for me, self-evaluation is like number one in my life. Every year around my birthday, because it typically feels pretty good for me, I go back and look at my last year, and I hold myself accountable to what I said. I go back through my list of things that I said I was going to do and things that I brought up, and I say to myself, did you or were you as accountable to completing those things that you said? Sometimes I fall short. I don't knock myself in the butt for that. What I do is decide to do better in my next year than I did in my previous year. So what is it about accountability? We are accountable to everything. As young children, we must do what our parents say because we fear the punishment. As students, we did well in school so our grades wouldn't be affected. As employers, we don't want to lose our job, so we make sure that we do the things that they have said for us to do in order to still be relatable and still be able to keep our job. But learning to hold yourself accountable takes effort, focus, and above all, commitment to change. I think throughout this whole presentation, this whole summit, those are the things that continue to ring in my mind, that I'm learning to hold myself accountable to my efforts, my focus, but above all, I'm making a commitment to change. So how do we do that? We do that by being honest. Set pride aside. For me, we have to really find it in ourselves to say, I have to admit that maybe me by myself, I can't do this alone. So let me connect with somebody. We just got through talking about connecting with people that we know that have businesses. Let me connect with somebody, but let me first admit that I need help. I think that is one of our biggest downfalls, because we want to solely do this for us, so much so that we forget that we are not islands by ourselves. And if we would only submit and say, hey, I need the help, we would see how further we could be. Find your reason. Recognize the reason that you want to do it, your why. I think Ms. Williams was talking about that, because I definitely don't want to mess up your first name. She was talking about your why. What is your why? Why do you want to lose the weight? And beyond just the illnesses, but what is it that will put you to say, I get up every day, I'm going to do this 30 minutes. What is your why? Be conscious and be aware of the things you commit to. This one to me is big, because I don't give my agreement to everybody. because everyone does not deserve my agreement. And if they're not truly in agreement with me, then they're not going to be for the betterment of me. So be aware to the things you're committing to. That's the people, the places. Be aware of those things. Some of the problems with accountability is that sometimes we overextend ourselves too. Goes back to that time. I loved it when she was talking about time, making sure that you are okay with saying no. It's okay sometimes to say no. It's okay to sometimes not take on those commitments and be able to find time for yourself. Make sure that you're being aware to your agreements and your commitments. On top of that, find areas to be accountable to. What are the things that you didn't do in 2020 that you want to do in 2021? And how can you become accountable to those things? Plans of action. We started talking about that, which flows into writing things down. Begin to put a plan together. These are the things I want to be accountable for. These are the things that I'm trying to accomplish. What are my goals and what are my steps to get there? I think we talked about it. I mean, this whole conference has been nothing but a repetitive communication of what we should do and the simple things of starting with us. So start writing things down. Put them in order of importance. What's first and foremost in your life, but set deadlines. That for me was a big piece, because in order to get to the places that I have gotten in my life, even in this year, I have put deadlines to myself. And I have held myself accountable to those deadlines. And not only did I hold myself accountable, I have put people in place to hold me accountable to those deadlines. And I have found that I've been able to accomplish more by doing so. Give yourself permission to fail. It's okay. Every day is not going to be a good day. Every day is not going to be a day that you just beast it out, but does not mean that you stop. One thing that Miss Melissa said that I love is she said that, you know, it's slow progress. That's like my favorite quote in the word. Slow progress is still progress. And when I give myself permission to fail, that means I give myself permission to rewrite the things that I want to do to make it better. Be able to be accountable for that. Be able to be okay with that. And in that process that you're okay with, you'll see that as you progress, you're able to reward yourself. So rewarding your accomplishments is very big. Be able to say, I did it today. So this was something that I told myself I was going to hold myself accountable to. This is the deadline I set. And I maybe made it before deadline at the 9th hour of the deadline, but I did it. And so in order to do that, now I can reward myself and say, I give myself that pat on the back. Sometimes it's okay. Let's just give ourselves the pat on the back. And performance review of you. I talked about it. I mean it. I have a self-evaluation of myself. And the biggest and the hardest thing for many of my clients to do is be brutally honest with themselves. I require them and ask them to sit down and do a self-evaluation, and just not even just over their last year, but let's start with the root causes, root issues that got us to this place, because everything starts somewhere. So when you can make a just decision to say, this is some things that I'm not good at. These are some areas I need help on. This is some areas that I'm not feeling my best on. Then that goes back to the being honest. But now I can go back and look at my performance, look at where I was in my self-evaluation, and see how I can go forward in my future. And then lastly, I want to share with you, seek unbiased feedback. I have a very small circle, but I have no yes men. I have a very small circle, but I have no yes men. Every single person in my group, every single person that's connected to me, tell me the brutest, honest truth, whether I like it or not. And I appreciate them for that, because what we should be able to do is see ourselves in many perspectives, because our vision and our thoughts of ourselves aren't always the best, because we think the highest of our own selves. But when someone can begin to share with you how they feel, what they see, what they encounter, and even listen to the ones that you don't like, because sometimes the things that you hear repetitively about you or some of the things that you need to start looking at to correct. But seek unbiased opinion. Seek someone who would tell you the truth, like a therapist. I mean, that was one of the key things I had, or just a coach in general. We have plenty of coaches on here, spiritual coaches, I mean, all down. Seek someone who would tell you the truth and hold you accountable to the truth. Because in order to be accountable to yourself, you have to also be accountable to change. The one word that many people also don't like is change. It's inevitable, it happens. And once we get committed to it, we'll see that we'll be a better person. So that is just my tips for the 2021 accountability. If you have any questions regarding that, I would love to take them, and we can definitely go from there.
I don't see any questions as of right now. So I'm going to say thank you so much for sharing with us, Janay. And I'm actually going to take over from here, you guys. So I want to talk to you all about everything that you have heard from this point forward. What you guys have, what you've heard, let's go through it. Ramona talked about connecting with the divine, connecting with self, with the divine within. Lynette Phillips talked about managing your time wisely and making time for self. Arielis Rivera talked about knowing the languaging and understanding the meaning around your environment and what they're telling you. Dr. Gale talked about creating generational wealth and creating lineage in finances. Kaye talked about positivity, gratitude, and realistic living. Sandra gave you a message on what's in the now and asked you, are you ready for it? Zhivi told you to utilize your resources and set realistic goals when eating right and make sure you're always moving. Angela said, be social, but be real, understanding the difference between what's realistic and what's fake. Missy told us to step out on faith, but understand that it's a process. And you just finished hearing Janay talk about being accountable for your own efforts, being focused and commit to change, and always be evaluating self. When I put together this summit, I wanted to make sure that we gave you information that could help you withstand everything that you could have possibly gone through in the year 2020. I wanted to make sure that I brought expert speakers to you that could deliver messages that were realistic and that you could utilize the tips and information to take back to your life and use them in your life. A lot of the information that you were given here was so phenomenal and so dynamic. I don't see how you could go into 2021 and not live your absolute best life. I actually have some more free gifts to give away, to be completely honest with you. So let me go to my list, because see, I got a list of free things. Now, oh, okay. If you were paying attention to Sandra's speech, this is going to give you some information here. Now, those of you who want to learn a free language, I hope you were paying attention to her speech. Sandra is giving away a free 30-minute Spanish tutoring session. And my question for you is, what did E stand for in her speech? Okay, Melinda Ryans. So Melinda Ryans is going to win that 30-minute Spanish session because she definitely got the answer to that. Okay. Next up is Zhivi is giving away a copy of her book. And I'm going to ask you, Zhivi gave us some tips. I'm sorry, I'm reading some stuff. Zhivi gave us some tips on. Okay, congratulations, Melinda. I'm so happy that you want. See, you paid attention and you didn't even know that you were gonna get a chance to win that. So congratulations. All right, so Zhivi gave us some tips on being physical, and she related it to some things that were said earlier on. What were some of the tips that Zhivi gave us in regards to utilizing our resources? And what were some of the resources that she said that were free and that you could take advantage of while dealing with COVID? Okay, now, Melinda, wait a minute. Okay, we're going to give this one to Ramona because Melinda just run the last one. So Ramona, you're going to get a copy of, e-copy of Zhivi's book. But I know, Melinda, but that's okay. I'm glad for you. I'm happy that you paid attention. I'm so happy. Okay. I got my next one. Missy is giving away a free 30-minute discovery call. And I'm going to ask you, Missy told you guys where she worked. What did she say she did? Okay, we're going to go with Wanda. Wanda's going to get that 30-minute discovery call with Missy. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give 2 away because Ashley, you got it, nailed it dead on the head. Okay. And my last gift is a 30-minute inspiration session with Janay. So, I took a lot of notes, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm trying to decide how to ask and which question to ask y'all. So, without. I'm gonna make this easy for y'all. Let's see. All right. Janay said to put this person first. That's right, Ashley. That's right. So I'm going to give Ashley the 30-minute inspiration session with Janay. So, okay, you guys, I just wanted to thank you all. I didn't want to keep you. I'm so glad that we were able to teach you so much. This was literally, you know, a dream come true for me. Over here, again, I can't reiterate enough, over here at NRI Wellness, our methodology is the 10 dimensions of wellness. The way we set this summit up today is how we see this tree of life. Each and every last one of these areas of your life is an area in which you need to address and in which you need to find balance. And the last thing we want you to understand is in all of these areas of wellness, you also have to be accountable. Janay hit it home. That's why she was the last one to actually go. So you understand that. And all of these messages that you learned today, in all of these areas, in every facet of your life, accountability is key. So you got to be accountable for your finances. You got to be accountable for your spirituality. You got to be accountable for the environment around you. You have to be accountable for your emotions. You have to be accountable for your creativity. You have to be accountable for your body physically. You have to be accountable for your social wellness. You have to be accountable for your purpose, your occupation, what it is that you want to do. You have to be accountable for self. In all of these messages and everything that you learned today, in every area of wellness, they brought you 10 realistic ways in which you can actually put that into your life. I hope that you leave here today. And let me say this, we will be sending out a link. So for those of you guys who are missed it or you want to make sure that you see it again, and tomorrow you'll get a link. Now there'll be some free goodies in that link as well. Sanja Danette has provided you guys with some downloads to a couple of her songs. There are some free downloadables in there for you to utilize in your journaling. There's a lot of information that we are willing to give out to you. So I'm just super excited about it. Everybody, let me tell you this. I'm actually going to email each and every one of the winners. I have everybody's phone number as well, so I will get in touch with you to get your physical address and your email address so that you can get your information about everything that you won. Again, thank you so much for joining us on our first annual 10 Dimensions of Wellness Virtual Summit. Tell your friends how dynamic it was, you guys. We have another event coming up in December. In January, the 10 Dimensions of Wellness will be coming back to the air, but instead of being audio, we will be video. So this time we'll be doing a live viewing of Just Another Girl on the IRT, and we will actually be talking about teenage pregnancy trauma and how to heal our community from that. So I am so excited about all of the things that we have coming up. So make sure you jump online, follow each and every last one of these wellness speakers. You can find us on Facebook, the 10 Dimensions of Wellness group. All of these speakers are actually in that group, you guys. So if you ever want to get in touch with them, see them, most of them drop content in there daily. So I am excited about what's to come with each and every last one of them. So thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
NRI Wellness brings you the latest health and nutrition information, creates customized nutrition programs, and walks you through the process to ensure your success.